she really wanted to give it a good beating. At that moment, Baifu raised an eyebrow and said, borrowing ghost servants at the fierce ghost level is indeed dangerous, but you actually don't need to borrow them. Jiang Qianxia looked up in surprise, seeing Baifu flash a smile as he hinted, have you forgotten? You once saved 2 fierce ghosts. He stroked his chin, pondering, I think they should be quite willing to help you. Jiang Qianxia naturally understood who Baifu was referring to, but she couldn't understand why Baifu mentioned saving 2 vengeful spirits. Clearly, she was with them at the time, and it hardly seemed like a rescue. Seeing the confusion in Jiang Qianxia's eyes, Baifu was startled, realizing she had yet to grasp the truth of the matter. He did not explain, because he had once empathized with the memories of the ghostly sibling pair and knew why they regarded Jiang Qianxia as their benefactor. First, it was Jiang Qianxia's heartfelt encouragement that inspired them to find the direction for revenge. Second, it was Jiang Qianxia's active promotion that brought widespread attention to this case among netizens. Now, due to the strong public outcry, the case of Lu Ma and her husband has been taken into consideration by the Supreme Court, with a verdict imminent. More importantly, the matter of the statute of limitations has spread throughout the Xianmen community due to Wenji's few cries. Many Xianmen practitioners with diverse side businesses have also started paying attention to this issue. Lu Ma and her husband were sent to a special detention center, which is different from ordinary police stations. It is filled with righteous energy, making it impossible for ghosts and spirits to approach. As a result, the siblings have been indulging in their revenge against their enemies these days, enjoying themselves immensely. Since being transferred to the new detention center, Lu Ma and her husband have been unable to sleep at night, constantly reliving their past experiences in their dreams, always appearing as victims. Upon waking, it feels as though their bodies have been torn apart, leaving them in unbearable pain. They even see ghosts during the day, frightening them to the point of unrest. The administrators of the detention center certainly don't take special care of these criminals, especially the most heinous child abusers and murderers, who even receive spit from the neighboring inmates. Noise and self-harm are both regarded here as attempts to evade judgment. The siblings suffered greatly during their lives, and after death, they wandered for decades, accumulating resentment that cannot be easily dispelled. Even those skilled in resolving grievances within the mystical sects chose to let these 2 little spirits resolve their resentment on their own. It's not that they don't want to gain the merit of exorcising these 2 little ghosts, but exorcising resentment is divided into 2 types. The first type involves evildoers who can be directly exorcised through violence, either dispersed or sent to the underworld to conclude the matter. The second type involves innocent ghosts, which are more complex to handle and require a gentle approach that does not harm them to resolve their resentment. For ghosts like the siblings with such heavy resentment and no wrongdoing, a gentle approach might take decades, or even potentially torment the exorcist to death. The best way to help these 2 little ghosts move on is to let them seek revenge themselves and resolve their resentment. Although the sect allows them to resolve their resentment on their own, a guardian is usually still required. After all, no matter how harmless vengeful spirits may seem, they are still vengeful spirits. If they lose control, the consequences would be unimaginable. And the current candidate for this guardian within the sect is Jiang Qianxia. Thus, these 2 little ghosts share an inseparable karmic bond with Jiang Qianxia. So, you don't need to borrow ghost attendants. You already have them. Baifu told Jiang Qianxia that the 2 little fierce ghosts actually volunteered to become her ghost attendants, leaving her stunned. Me? Baifu nodded, yes. He noticed Jiang Qianxia's concerns and quickly explained, don't worry, if they are completely willing to sign the contract with you, your binding power over them will be very strong. Jiang Qianxia thought for a moment, then the contract duration is. Baifu replied honestly, until the resentment dissipates and the karma is repaid. They owed Jiang Qianxia a favor and must repay it before they can reincarnate, otherwise, they will still have to repay it in the next life. Jiang Qianxia asked a few more questions to confirm there would be no danger, and then she agreed. First, she was eager to save Xiaoyi. Second, she had already decided to step into the mystical path, and ghost attendants would eventually come in handy. Then, she asked Baifu about pretending to be an evil cultivator. Baifu gave a mysterious smile. This might be difficult for others, but it's simple for you. Because Jiang Qianxia is extremely talented and learns everything quickly. Most importantly, his Disha sect has techniques similar to those of evil cultivators. Setting up a blood-soaked formation to fool some minor spirits is a piece of cake. After a brief discussion, Jiang Qianxia sent a WeChat message to Situyu, inquiring about the situation over there. Upon learning that Situyu had taken the little rascal back to the lounge, found a waiter to entertain him properly, and the little rascal was eating happily without noticing anything unusual, Jiang Qianxia couldn't afford to expose her abilities in front of Situyu. She quickly informed Situyu about the urgency of the matter and the upcoming arrangements. Originally, she had prepared herself to go through the trouble of persuading Situyu, but unexpectedly, he agreed without hesitation. He only asked one question. Will you be in danger? Jiang Qianxia's lips unconsciously curved into a smile. This work machine actually cares about people, she typed joyfully. Don't worry, the only one in danger will be that little rascal. There was even an emoji attached in the background. The animated image of the kung fu rabbit cracking its knuckles while preparing to punch. In the lounge, Situyu saw the meme and couldn't help but laugh. However, just as his smile was about to spread, the little brat who was devouring food suddenly looked up, crumbs hanging from the corner of his mouth. Clearly the same face, but now it looked especially annoying. In an instant, Situyu's gaze turned cold. He put away his phone, frowned, and said harshly, that man actually ran away. The little rascal's eyes flickered upon hearing this and quickly asked, will Dad still go after him? Situyu smiled faintly, wicked and arrogant, of course. Even if he runs to the ends of the earth, I'll have the bodyguards catch him. Daring to touch my woman, I'll definitely chop him up and feed him to the dogs. The little rascal grinned, showing a smug expression, and clapped his hands. All right, chop it up and feed it to the dogs. The little brat was completely unaware, happily burying his head and devouring the food again. At this moment, the devilishly charming and arrogant CEO's ears turned a suspicious shade of red. Situyu let out a sigh of relief in his heart, his emotions complex yet helpless. He is an ordinary person, and when it comes to ghosts, he does feel a bit scared. The main reason is that the ghost can harm him, while he has no way to subdue it. However, since the little ghost is attached to Xiaoyi, he cannot just ignore it. Earlier, Jiang Qianxia not only discussed with him about taking the little ghost to the new home after the banquet to trap it but also sent him a script. The earlier line about chopping it up and feeding it to the dogs was the script Jiang Qianxia sent him, meant to fool the little ghost. Who knew it would be used so quickly? The little rascal is indeed easy to fool. However, he found himself speaking quite smoothly, but his toes felt a bit uncomfortable. Sad face. On the other side, after discussing with Situyu, Jiang Qianxia and Bai Yifu finalized their next course of action. Bai Yifu immediately set off to help her arrange the venue. Meanwhile, Jiang Qianxia also had to return to the banquet to continue acting. Once Bai Yifu prepared the venue, she would take the little brat over. This time, her role was that of a truly wicked stepmother. She sneered, determined to play the wicked stepmother to the fullest. However, when she returned to the banquet hall, she happened to encounter Zhao Choutong, who looked anxious. Upon seeing her, Zhao Choutong hurriedly stepped forward to thank her again, apologizing. Qianxia, I really appreciate you. You've helped me out a lot again, but I might need to ask you to leave a bit later. Jiang Qianxia noticed the waiter nearby replacing the champagne tower, and Zhao Choutong's hidden anxious expression made her understand something. Perhaps when she saw Jing Xiaoyuan, it was already too late. Therefore, the moment she first saw Jing Xiaoyuan's face, alarm bells instantly rang in her heart. Logically, she should have informed Zhao Choutong immediately, but Zhao Choutong's intervention complicated everything, and Jing Xiaoyuan's unusual expression vanished without a trace. However, at that moment, she was preoccupied with the matter of the little ghost and didn't think much about it. Now it seems that stopping it is already too late. The trick Jing Xiaoyuan played right in front of her had long since quietly unfolded, so the champagne tower was replaced, which means Zhao Choutong found out that Jing Xiaoyuan had drugged the champagne tower. Jiang Qianxia's expression changed slightly, her heart tightening. If she had met Jing Xiaoyuan earlier, would Situyu and she have already fallen into the trap? Seeing Jiang Qianxia's gloomy expression, Zhao Choutong also looked embarrassed. She quickly pulled her aside and explained in a low voice, I checked the surveillance and caught the attendant bribed by Jing Xiaoyuan. He admitted that Jing Xiaoyuan had instructed him to put something in the champagne tower, but when I went to check the surveillance, the champagne tower had already been taken away, and half of it was gone. Zhao Choutong's voice was low, filled with deep concern. I can't yet confirm who has been affected, and with so many people, my Zhao family can't afford to offend anyone, so for now, I don't dare to make it public and can only find a way to stall the guests at the banquet. Jiang Qianxia's expression grew increasingly grave, and Zhao Choutong hurriedly explained, I've already arranged for someone to verify one by one who drank the champagne. I've also called a doctor, and the champagne has been sent for testing. It's still uncertain whether all the champagne is problematic, so I haven't made it public yet. Zhao Choutong looked at Jiang Qianxia with an apologetic and pleading gaze. Please keep this confidential for now. I will personally apologize to those affected afterward. Jiang Qianxia understood in her heart that Zhao Choutong was also a victim of unforeseen disaster. Who could have anticipated such malice in people's hearts? She nodded. In fact, no matter how Zhao Choutong handled it, she would offend those who were affected. However, if she spoke out, it might cause chaos and even offend everyone. Seeing her agree, Zhao Choutong let out a big sigh of relief and said awkwardly yet gratefully, rest assured, if you are affected, I will arrange the best room for you and President Yu. Jiang Qianxia's expression changed. Exclamation point. Seeing her expression, Zhao Choutong felt even more guilty and gritted her teeth to explain that freeloader Jing Xiaoyuan sneaked into the banquet, probably trying to use this despicable method to tie me down. He can't bear to lose the Zhao family's protection, so it might be an aphrodisiac. Jiang Qianxia. She took a deep breath and asked Zhao Choutong to first help her check whether she and Situyu had been affected. Zhao Choutong quickly agreed. The matter was urgent. After a brief conversation with Jiang Qianxia, Zhao Choutong immediately headed to the monitoring room. She confirmed that neither Jiang Qianxia nor her husband had drunk the spiked champagne, then began checking the surveillance footage one by one. The banquet hall surveillance happened to capture the champagne tower. The secretary followed closely beside Zhao Choutong, recording every person who took a drink from the champagne tower. The trickiest part was that some people handed drinks to others, and some even had the waiters bring drinks. After Zhao Choutong finished checking, a lot of time had already passed. The results of the champagne sent for testing finally came out. Upon seeing the test results, Zhao Choutong's expression changed. The main ingredient added to the champagne turned out to be protein. The effect was actually to supplement nutrition. She reviewed the results several times, feeling a sense of doubt. After some thought, she instructed her secretary to inform the other side to carefully re-examine and use several different methods. Taking a deep breath, she returned to the banquet hall. In the banquet hall, seeing the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Edmund surrounded by a group of middle-aged executives, seemingly enjoying the party, Zhao Choutong's feelings became complicated. She had originally thought Edmund was just a playful rich second-generation heir with no ill intentions. Unexpectedly, after the incident, in order to help her, he pretended to fall and knocked over the champagne tower, giving her people an excuse to remove the spiked champagne. Now dressed in a noble-style suit, Edmund enthusiastically held everyone back. Despite cultural differences, it seemed to infect everyone present. The banquet hall was not chaotic. Instead, thanks to Edmund's handsomeness, the atmosphere appeared elegant and cheerful. He noticed Zhao Choutong, smiled faintly, and swayed his way over. Before Zhao Choutong could react, he wrapped his arm around her waist, his warm breath close to her ear. "You all done?" Awkward Chinese tinged with a hint of flirtation. Zhao Choutong gently nodded, wanting to break free from the overly intimate embrace of this foreign man. Unexpectedly, he leaned in closer and whispered softly in her ear. "Although I didn't drink champagne, I feel like I've been drugged with a love potion. Otherwise, why does my heartbeat feel like a wild horse?" Zhao Choutong's cheeks flushed, her expression turning complex. She couldn't help but reach out and pinch the man's lower back. The handsome foreign man showed a grimace mixed with grievance on his face. "Joe, I'm confessing my love to you. Why would you treat me like this?" Looking into his sincere yet desireless blue eyes, Zhao Choutong realized that the misunderstanding might have been caused by cultural differences in expression. She took a deep deep breath. Next time, don't casually mention aphrodisiacs. The meaning of aphrodisiac is. She explained it to Edmund in English. Edmund quickly said, oh, no. Moi, of course, that's not what I meant. Zhao Chotong nodded. I know, thank you for tonight. Edmund instantly showed a silly expression. No problem, helping you is my wish. On the other side, Jiang Qianxia, informed that neither she nor Sitayu had been affected, breathed a sigh of relief. The messenger was Zhao Chotong's secretary, and when Jiang Qianxia saw the sampling tube in her hand, her heart stirred. What are you? As Zhao Chotong's capable assistant, the secretary knew that Jiang Qianxia had helped her boss a lot and respectfully said, this is the problematic champagne sample that was kept. In addition to those sent for ingredient testing, some were retained as evidence for the police in case of need. Jiang Qianxia fixed her gaze on the item in the secretary's hand and asked, could you give me one? The secretary hadn't expected her to make such a request. However, since the matter had far-reaching implications, Zhao Chotong had specifically collected many samples. Giving one to Jiang Qianxia wouldn't hurt, but the secretary handed the sample to Jiang Qianxia while saying, I need to report this to President Zhao. Jiang Qianxia took the sample tube and nodded. No problem. Please also convey to Miss Zhao that she can come to me if she encounters difficulties, though I can't guarantee I can resolve them. She later examined Xing Xiaoyuan's facial expression, and it didn't seem like the aphrodisiac Zhao Chotong suspected. On the contrary, it didn't quite seem like medicine. It might actually be something related to metaphysics. She wanted the sample tube just to bring it to Baifu to see if he could figure out what it was. The secretary, after hearing Jiang Qianxia's words, quickly expressed gratitude and turned to look for Zhao Chotong. Meanwhile, on Jiang Qianxia's side, the show was finally about to begin. She carefully put away the sample tube, placed it in her bag, adjusted her expression, and angrily pushed open the door to the lounge. Sitayu, don't go too far. Bang! A loud noise startled everyone inside and outside the room. The little rascal was happily eating, and Sitayu also looked up. Jiang Qianxia and Sitayu locked eyes, about to continue their confrontation, when a waiter's voice came from behind. Hello, is there something I can help you with? Sitayu signaled with his eyes, thinking to himself, why is there still a supporting character here? Jiang Qianxia helplessly, oops, got so caught up in acting that I forgot to pay attention to my surroundings. Will there be rumors tomorrow about Sitayu and his wife having a big fight over a male third party? TSK. Luckily, I'm about to go record a variety show. Better hide my identity. C2U. It turned out to be an accident. He looked at the little rascal again and found it completely unaware, feeling relieved. The little rascal couldn't hear Jiang Qianxia's inner thoughts, only Xiaoyi could. To keep up the act, Jiang Qianxia frowned, glared angrily at the waiter, and said coquettishly, go away. Don't disturb us. The waiter didn't expect to be scolded, froze for a moment, then apologized and left. Jiang Qianxia silently apologized to the young waiter in her heart. After he walked away, she once again pointed at Sitayu's nose. Tell me, where did you take him? I saw your bodyguards chasing after him. Sitayu curled his lips into a smile. You might as well give up. He won't dare to appear in front of you again. The two secretly glanced at the little ghost on the small tea table. Sure enough, upon hearing that the person dared not appear, it showed a look of joy. The next second, the little ghost yawned and said in a soft, childish voice, Daddy, I'm sleepy. I want to go back to sleep. Sitayu frowned. Although they had agreed on it, when it came time to actually do it, he still felt a bit uneasy. Jiang Qianxia noticed his doubts, avoided the little rascal, and gave him a reassuring look. Then, she struck an exaggerated pose of compromise. Fine. I don't want to stay at the banquet anymore. I'll take him back first, and you can continue with your business. The little rascal's gaze darted quickly between the imposing Sitayu and the charming Jiang Qianxia, a hint of mischief flickering in his eyes. Using his small hands to prop himself up, he nimbly jumped to the ground, walked over to Jiang Qianxia on his own, and grabbed her hand. Just as he was about to flash a smug smile, he suddenly heard Sitayu's warning voice. Jiang Qianxia, if I catch you secretly mistreating Xiaoya again, you'll bear the consequences. The little rascal's mouth instantly froze. Abuse? What abuse? Jiang Qianxia was also momentarily stunned, looking at Sitayu with a peculiar expression. A dignified billionaire CEO, and he can mess up such a simple line? C2U. Of course, he knew the line was divorce, but for some reason, even while acting, he didn't want to say it out loud. However, this small interlude did not hinder the progress of events. Jiang Qianxia lowered her head, meaningfully stroking the smooth face of the little ghost child, and agreed, don't worry, I will definitely take good care of it. As she spoke, her slender and elegant fingers lightly swept past the little ghost child's eyes, causing an inexplicable chill to run down the back of its neck. But due to the earlier conversation sparking its mischievous idea, the little ghost child silently waited for Jiang Qianxia to lead it to a secluded place. A sly glint flashed in its eyes, and just as it was about to speak, a respectful figure suddenly appeared from the side. Madam, are you heading back? It was Uncle Lu, the driver who had already been notified. He knew the secret about the little young master. Although he felt a bit uneasy, he still respectfully greeted the little ghost brat. Hello, young master. The little ghost brat, who had been angry about being interrupted, instantly showed a smug expression and let out a cold snort. Seeing Uncle Lu still being respectful, it became even more pleased with itself. Since the driver was in the car, it refrained from saying the threatening words it had intended for Jiang Qianxia. Instead, it kept making demands. I want candy. I want toys. The little ghost brat kept making a fuss, and each time Jiang Qianxia calmly replied, you'll have them when we get home. But it didn't give up. Instead, it cried and screamed even more fiercely. If you don't give it to me, I'll tell Dad you're abusing me. Hurry up. Right now. Immediately. Go buy it for me now. Stop the car. It seems it was a brat in its previous life too, Jiang Qianxia thought to herself. She let out a cold laugh and unceremoniously changed the script. If you keep making noise, I'll throw you out. The little ghost brat heard this, rolled its eyes, and looked at the driver's back with a wave of panic in its heart. But then, Jiang Qianxia added, look at how useless the driver is. After all these days, you still haven't realized that old Lu is my man? Well, you're just a little ghost, dumb as can be, so of course, you wouldn't notice. The little rascal was stunned at first, then quickly understood, secretly thinking, this little kid is actually a jinx. Even the driver is someone working for his stepmother. stepmother. Don't be fooled by how the stepmother agrees so readily in front of that man. Who knows what kind of abuse he might suffer while that man is away. Damn, this woman is beautiful as a viper. Getting involved with her is a bit troublesome, and it couldn't help but feel like retreating. Jiang Qianxia noticed its hesitation, let out a cold snort, and pointed out the window. If you make one more noise, I'll throw you to that temple over there. I heard they specialize in taking in orphans. What? A temple? The little ghost panicked and hurriedly looked out the window, only to find that, at some point, the car had left the city and entered a quiet mountainside. At the foot of the mountain, the golden glimmer of a temple flashed by. Its eyes were now filled with terror. Ah, this damned woman, this damned family. How could there be a temple near where they live? The little ghost's gaze turned sinister, secretly vowing in its heart to teach them a lesson later. The temple was at the foot of the mountain. After scaring this woman to death, it would escape from behind the mountain. After making up its mind, the little ghost couldn't help but secretly size up Jiang Qianxia. Unexpectedly, Jiang Qianxia also returned its gaze with a sinister look. Moments later, the little ghost revealed an excited expression. This woman is probably fantasizing about how to torment it later, isn't she? Excellent. The more arrogant she is now, the more pathetic she'll look when she's scared out of her wits later. Haha. For a moment, inside the car, both the human and the ghost were filled with excitement. The car slid into the villa's garage, and old Lu quickly got out to help open the car door. Jiang Qianxia turned around, extended her hand to the little boy, and smiled. Come on, mommy's taking you home. After speaking, she turned her head and asked Uncle Lu, have all the servants been notified? Uncle Lu, trembling with fear because of the eerie and gloomy expression on the young master's face, snapped back to his senses upon hearing Jiang Qianxia's voice and stammered in response. Why yes, everyone's been notified. They've all left the villa, and they won't return before tomorrow. Uncle Lu's tone was halting, but this only made his character more vivid and real. His words instantly lit up the little rascal's eyes. Great, there's no one left in the villa. In other words, soon it would be just it and this vicious woman. Humph, it will definitely repay her well. Heh. Jiang Qianxia glanced at the dazed little ghost, a faint smile tugging at the corner of her lips. She exchanged a look with Uncle Lu, who silently nodded. Then Jiang Qianxia took the little ghost home. Back to that jar, the one Bai Yifu prepared for catching ghosts. According to Bai Yifu, a ghost trapping formation has been set up outside this villa. Once a ghost steps in, it won't be able to get out. A graceful woman gently held the hands of three adorable young children as they slowly walked into the secluded hillside villa, a scene so beautiful it felt like a dream. Until, bang, the woman and the child exchanged glances, and the harmonious gentleness and cuteness on their faces instantly vanished. Let's play a game. Let's play a game. The two spoke in unison. The little rascal was startled, then showed a mischievous smile. All right, you play games with me. Jiang Qianxia shook her head. No. A sudden ferocity appeared on the little rascal's face. The once adorable face turned vicious, and the voice lost its childishness, becoming eerie. What's wrong? Jiang Qianxia, however, showed no fear and calmly pointed behind her. It's not me playing with you. It's you playing with them? Them? The little ghost cub, with eyes filled with hostility, revealed a trace of confusion as it slowly turned around. Two terrifying vengeful spirits, innocent and adorable in appearance, looking exactly like human children but exuding enough resentment to obliterate it, were staring intently at it. In an instant, the little ghost cub's soul was scared out of its wits. Ah, help! A scream, inaudible to ordinary humans, echoed through the villa. This little ghost was unexpectedly timid. Jiang Qianxia hadn't expected it to be so easily frightened. It truly wasted all her preparations. She swiftly caught Situ Xiaoya, who was about to fall due to the ghost's departure, while dashing rapidly toward the door. The reason she dared to close the door just now was that Bai Yifu told her the formation had left her an opening. There was a line at the entrance, and as long as she carried Xiaoya past that line, the ghost wouldn't be able to follow. The little ghost being chased by two fierce ghosts instantly understood when it saw Jiang Qianxia holding Xiaoya and fleeing outside. This woman did it on purpose. She had long known it was possessing the child and arranged for these two fierce ghosts to scare the child's soul out. Damn it, I was tricked. The little ghost was extremely annoyed. It had been so frightened just now that its soul had flown more than 10 meters away. But seeing Jiang Qianxia leisurely opening the door, seemingly certain that it was no longer a threat, its anger instantly erupted. The little ghost glanced at the vengeful spirits relentlessly chasing behind it, gritted its teeth, and desperately burned its own ghostly energy to escape from the claws of the two vengeful spirits. Then suddenly igniting ghostly energy again, it charged toward Jiang Qianxia. Ghostly energy is precious, but consuming it is better than facing complete death. As long as it can return to that child's body, or even enter that woman's body, it will do. The little ghost revealed a sinister smile, its ghostly hand quickly approaching Jiang Qianxia, closing the distance to 2 meters, 1 meter, 50 centimeters. As the distance closed, the little ghost's smile grew increasingly sly. Screech! Aha! Another sharp, shrill scream echoed. Jiang Qianxia turned around and saw the little ghost curled up on the ground, writhing in pain. A smile tugged at the corner of her lips, her red lips blooming like a flower. She said nonchalantly, "Why are you so forgetful?" "Oh, right, I forgot. You're very stupid." The little ghost on the ground clutched its ghostly hand, which was about to be burned by the barrier, glaring resentfully at this cunning woman. To think she tricked it and even called it stupid. Damn it, this is so infuriating. The brat bared his teeth, losing his mind in anger. "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. The hatred was instantly dispersed by two fierce malicious spirits behind her. The little ghost girl with adorable twin ponytails retracted her foot, elegantly adjusted her skirt, and frowned, saying, "Shut up. Do not be rude to Miss Jiang." Damn malicious spirits, they made her show a fierce side in front of Miss Jiang. The little boy imitated his sister's manner, tidied up his clothes, and said in a childish voice, "Do not disrespect Miss Jiang." First severely injured by the barrier and then struck by two fierce ghosts, the little ghost's soul was almost shattered. It quieted down, but not of its own will. It could no longer make a sound. sound, and under the threat of the two fierce ghosts, it didn't even dare to look at Jiang Qianxiao with hostility. Seeing this, Jiang Qianxiao was satisfied and thanked the two adorable little fierce ghosts. Thank you both. Don't beat him to death. Bai Yifu still needs to interrogate him later. As she spoke, Jiang Qianxiao noticed the somewhat reluctant expressions on the two little fierce ghosts' faces and couldn't help but pause. These two little ghosts were completely different from the pitiful appearance she had seen before. Dressed in pretty clothes, their little faces were clean and adorable. Apart from lacking the rosy complexion of real children, they were almost identical, even somewhat nervously tidying up their clothes. So, they deliberately dressed up to meet her. In fact, due to the urgency of the situation, she hadn't had time to sign a contract with them. She originally thought that the two little ghosts Bai Yifu mentioned wanted to become her ghost attendants to follow the rules and seek revenge. Now it seems they might be worried she wouldn't like them. This inexplicable fondness actually makes one feel warm. Jiang Qianxiao's heart softened, and she said gently, the matter of signing the contract will have to wait a bit, but if you want to come find me, you can do so quietly. Just don't scare others. Immediately, a glimmer of light unexpectedly flickered in the pitch-black eyes of the two little ghosts. They really are as adorable as ordinary children. Jiang Qianxiao smiled, then see you next time. The two little fierce ghosts heard her inner thoughts, exchanged glances, and adorably watched her leave. Underfoot, the little ghost, sensing the cheerful aura emitted by the two fierce ghosts, finally breathed a sigh of relief. However, unexpectedly, as soon as Jiang Qianxiao left, the two adorable little ghosts instantly reverted to their gruesome, original forms of tragic death. The screams rang out again. Jiang Qianxiao was just outside the villa, naturally hearing it, and couldn't help but laugh. Suddenly, the little one in her arms whimpered, and Jiang Qianxiao quickly held him tightly and walked briskly toward Bai Yifu. Driver Uncle Lu stood worriedly beside Bai Yifu. When he saw Jiang Qianxiao coming out holding Situ Xiaoya, he breathed a sigh of relief. He nervously glanced at the brightly lit villa behind Jiang Qianxiao, which exuded a hint of eeriness. From Jiang Qianxiao's expression, it seemed everything had been taken care of. He stepped forward. Young madam, let me carry him. The little one, though adorably chubby with a bit of baby fat on his face, was actually not very heavy, feeling light as a feather. Jiang Qianxiao shook her head, not heavy. Moreover, the little one, though fast asleep, instinctively furrowed his tiny brows and leaned closer to her, clearly showing a natural sense of fear. Bai Yifu waited quietly. Seeing the little one fast asleep, he raised an eyebrow. So soon? Jiang Qianxiao nodded, her tone somewhat helpless. He got scared as soon as we came in. Can you check on the child for me first? Hearing this, Bai Yifu was also a bit surprised, so timid. As he spoke, he had Jiang Qianxiao hold Situ Xiaoya and spread him out for a quick check. After examining him, a smile appeared on his face. No need for the soul-calming bell. Just get some sleep and spend more time in the sun, and besides, Jiang Qianxiao nervously held her breath as Bai Yifu spoke. Luckily, this little ghost accidentally broke through his tightly sealed acupoint. Seeing the doubt in Jiang Qianxiao's eyes, Bai Yifu explained, this child probably had some minor issue, right? It's probably gone now. Jiang Qianxiao was momentarily stunned, then exchanged an incredulous glance with Uncle Lu beside her. As they were speaking, Situ Xiaoya, who had been put down by Jiang Qianxiao, suddenly couldn't sense her presence. He furrowed his brows, slightly in unease, stretched out his tiny hand to grasp at the air, and called out in a soft, childlike voice, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. This voice was completely different from when he was previously possessed by the little ghost. It was adorably childish, and much clearer than when he had spoken earlier out of fear. Jiang Qianxiao, is this the acupoint you're referring to? Uncle Lu also widened his eyes. Why young master spoke. The expressions of the two instantly made Bai Yifu understand the secret of the acupoint. He looked at Jiang Qianxiao with slight surprise and said in a low voice, I didn't expect it to really be your son. Jiang Qianxiao took a deep breath and looked up at Bai Yifu. What? She was so shocked by the little one's sudden ability to speak that she didn't catch Bai Yifu's murmurs. Bai Yifu smiled faintly, a hint of slyness in his expression. It's nothing. I just think that little rascal is a bit timid, so it's a good chance to get some information out of him. He clasped his hands together, his fingers cracking audibly, then turned and walked toward the villa, waving goodbye to Jiang Qianxiao with his back to her. I'm going to interrogate the little rascal. You guys head back first. Call me if anything comes up. Watching Bai Yifu leave, Jiang Qianxiao sighed, thinking she owed him a big favor. Uncle Lu drove the car over, and Jiang Qianxiao carried the little one into the car. Just as the car was about to start, Situ's call came in. However, the call wasn't for Jiang Qianxiao, but for Uncle Lu. Uncle Lu was worried about disrupting Jiang Qianxiao's plan, but he really couldn't help but ask. After learning that everything was fine, Situ breathed a sigh of relief and told Uncle Lu that he was at the foot of the mountain. Uncle Lu, upon hearing this, looked at Jiang Qianxiao in surprise. Jiang Qianxiao noticed what Uncle Lu wanted to say and understood in her heart. The little one curled up uneasily in her arms, and she mouthed softly, Situ's call? Uncle Lu nodded and said softly, young master is waiting for us at the foot of the mountain. Jiang Qianxiao couldn't help but raise her eyebrows, a sense of joy welling up in her heart. The work machine seemed to be getting more efficient. Soon, they arrived at the foot of the mountain, the meeting spot where Situ was waiting. Jiang Qianxiao was once again surprised. At the foot of the mountain, there were homestays and restaurants, everything one could need, and even a temple nearby with pavilions for waiting. Yet, Situ was sitting stiffly in the car, looking particularly lonely. She glanced at the parking spot and immediately understood that it was clearly prepared for heading up the mountain at any time. The feeling of being cared for warmed her heart. After seeing Uncle Lu's car, Situ finally opened the car door and stepped out. At this moment, the little one in her arms suddenly moved. He sleepily opened his eyes, rubbed them with his tiny hands, slowly, focused, and upon recognizing Jiang Qianxiao's face, his eyes gradually lit up. He called out sweetly and affectionately, Mommy. The little milky voice, tinged with the cuteness of just waking up, instantly melted Jiang Qianxiao's heart. She widened her eyes in surprise. Sweetie, you can talk now. The little one blinked, noticing that Jiang Qianxiao did not reject his form of address, and his eyes grew even brighter. Realizing he was sitting in Jiang Qianxiao's arms, he quickly stretched out his small hands, wrapped them around hers, and called out again, Mommy. Jiang Jiang Qianxia was so delighted by the cuteness that her heart bloomed with joy. As soon as the car door opened, she excitedly shouted to Situyu, sweetie called me mommy. Situyu was momentarily stunned, then looked at her excited expression and nodded slightly, really. Seeing that Situyu wasn't excited at all, Jiang Qianxia looked at him in confusion. Why aren't you happy? Or is it? She paused, a sly glint flashing in her eyes. You're unhappy because the little one didn't call you? Situyu slightly curled his lips and was about to explain when he saw Jiang Qianxia bring little Xiaoya over. Hurry, call me daddy, or daddy will get jealous. Daddy. The little cutie obediently complied. Jiang Qianxia added, come on, ask daddy to hold you. The little cutie quickly stretched out his chubby hands towards Situyu. Daddy, hold me. Situyu originally wanted to tell Jiang Qianxia that Xiaoya used to just not speak. It wasn't that he couldn't speak, let alone that he was a baby. But when he saw the woman's bright and expectant eyes, he still reached out and took the little one into his arms. The little one seemed to become even more affectionate after speaking. As soon as he entered Situyu's arms, he tightly hugged his neck and pressed close. Situyu's movements paused slightly. He was somewhat unaccustomed to having such a soft little one cling to him, but it wasn't that he disliked it. He used his large hand to carefully protect the little one's back as he got into the car, sitting in the seat that Jiang Qianxia had vacated, still carrying her warmth and fragrance, his face slightly flushed. On the way home, the woman's pleasant voice and the child's soft, milky interaction stirred a sense of longing in Situyu's heart. He actually wished time could stop at this moment. So this is what it feels like to go home. The laughter of the wife and the tender voice of the son. And also, hiss, wait, how could I fall for the sweet calls of mommy from the little one? I agreed to let the little rascal call me mommy without even realizing it. How could I agree to that? Oh my god. Jiang Qianxia froze. Beside her, a person and a little one, both with smiles of satisfaction on their faces, also froze. Jiang Qianxia took a deep breath, and her gaze unintentionally met the little one's beside her. The little one was stunned, looking at her expectantly, as if waiting for something. Mom? The little one tentatively spoke. Jiang Qianxia froze for half a second, her heart tightening. Yes, what's wrong, darling? Woo-woo, he's so adorable. And he sweetly calls me mom. How could I bear to refuse him? Forget it. At worst I'll just be a mom for another year or two. When I divorce Situyu, I'll explain it to the little one. He's still so young, he surely won't understand anything. Situ Xiaoya heard Jiang Qianxia's inner thoughts, his eyes instantly lit up. He blinked playfully and called out even more adorably, mommy. Yes. Jiang Qianxia felt a surge of sweetness in her heart and wanted to pick up Situ Xiaoya. However, the little one shook his head and blinked his clear, big eyes. Daddy carry, mommy's tired. Jiang Qianxia, woolly little one, the cutest in the world. Even if we divorce, I must discuss with Situyu to continue being the little one's mommy. Being a godmother works too. At worst, I'll become sworn siblings with Situyu. From the moment of divorce, we'll be like biological siblings from different parents, absolutely inseparable. Situyu. Situ Xiaoya tightly hugged his dad, his small hand patting his back comfortingly. Situyu. He lowered his head, meeting his son's gaze, which seemed to carry the intelligence of a 7-year-old. His thin lips pressed together helplessly. Fine, for the sake of you knowing how to comfort your old father, I won't expose the fact that you're pretending to be a 1-year-old. After all, maybe she could even help him out. Situyu glanced faintly at the woman beside him, who had once again fallen into frustration. When the family of 3 returned to the villa, the night was already deep. On the way, the little one couldn't hold on and fell asleep. The nanny responsible for taking care of him wanted to step forward and take the little boy, but Situyu avoided her. The nanny understood and quickly went to turn on the lights in the front. Situyu, holding the little one, walked toward the children's room he rarely visited. Catching sight of the woman unconsciously following behind him, he revealed an extremely faint smile. After settling Situ Xiaoyi, the two left the children's room side by side, preparing to return to their respective rooms to rest. Just as Jiang Qianxia opened the door to her room, she was suddenly called by the man. Jiang Qianxia, do you have time to talk? Jiang Qianxia turned around in confusion, her gaze meeting the man's serious and profound eyes. Her heart tightened, as if sensing that something was amiss. Talk? What is there to talk about so late at night? What does he want to do? She became slightly alert, and Situyu's mind jolted, realizing that the timing wasn't quite right, but the words had already been spoken, so he decided to keep it brief. Ahem. He cleared his throat, his gaze resolute. I want to ask you if you're willing to extend the contract. Oh? Jiang Qianxia was stunned, blinking her eyes, unable to comprehend why he would bring this up tonight. Seeing that she seemed unmoved, Situyu raised the stakes. Of course, since I proposed extending the contract, you can make demands regarding the terms. Then no problem. A trace of amusement flashed in Situyu's eyes, and he immediately noticed Jiang Qianxia's silent approval, though it didn't show on her face. She was staring at him with a face full of suspicion. Situyu, why? Did you extend the contract? Although her heart wavered slightly, Jiang Qianxia was no longer the person she used to be, who had lost her senses over 2 million yuan. What's more, there's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. This person proposes to extend the contract in the middle of the night. Could it be that he wants to turn fiction into reality? Jiang Qianxia quietly took a step back, leaning against the door, her eyes scanning the man up and down. Situyu was momentarily stunned, then let out a helpless smile. She probably doesn't realize that her guarded demeanor only makes her more alluring. She was dressed in an evening gown, her curves exquisite, perfectly outlining her figure. Her face was stunningly beautiful, yet her eyes carried a hint of innocence. It undoubtedly made people want to get closer, to explore her inner world. Situyu took a deep breath, suppressing the desire in his heart, stepped back slightly, averted his gaze, and spoke slowly. Because I think you did very well, and Xiaoya also likes you very much. Jiang Qianxia became even more suspicious because he didn't dare to look her in the eye. That's it? Situyu nodded somewhat unnaturally. Ahem, that's it. Jiang Qianxia thought to herself. You actually don't dare to look at me. As expected, there's something wrong. Luckily, I'm a woman who isn't swayed by money. Situyu felt helpless yet amused for a moment. He shifted his gaze to Jiang Qianxia, fixing his eyes on her. He knew she was very clever. Avoiding direct eye contact was his way of preventing his thoughts from being revealed too early and scaring her. However, hiding his thoughts seemed to make her even more suspicious. nervous. Might as well be a bit more honest. Situyu's gaze gradually became serious. Now, it was Jiang Qianxia who became nervous. Her mind went blank. Due to her height, her gaze landed perfectly on the man's flawless Adam's apple. Below it was a tie and suit that matched her gown. Situyu's physique seemed tailor-made for suits. Paired with his cold and aloof demeanor, it exuded an ultimate sense of restraint. Humans are born with a certain inherent flaw. The more forbidden something is, the more they want to break it. Jiang Qianxia's throat tightened, and her cheeks grew slightly warm. Noticing the man's gaze burning like fire, she took a deep breath, straightened her posture, lifted her chin, and said reservedly, "You know, I'm not the kind of woman who is swayed by money, so I need to think about it." Situyu was amused by her touched but refusing demeanor, and at the same time, he felt a trace of joy because she had noticed his intentions but did not directly reject him. "Alright, no rush. Take your time to think it over." A hint of warmth appeared in his cold, deep eyes, and his voice softened. Jiang Qianxia's breath hitched, and she nodded hastily. Then, "Good night." After saying that, she quickly opened the door and rushed out in a hurry. Outside the door, Situyu stood frozen in place for 2 seconds. When he heard Jiang Qianxia's inner thoughts start to echo from the room, he hurriedly lifted his foot and left. However, early the next morning, at the dining table, the father and son stared at a note in silence. On the note, the woman's handwriting was smooth, and it read, "Sorry, urgent matters require patience. I have a job that needs me to leave temporarily." Jiang Qianxia, C2 Xiaoya didn't recognize many characters, but he had high-tech tools. The children's watch scanned the code, and the AI read the message aloud. After listening, the little one's tense expression relaxed slightly, but he still pursed his lips, sitting in the dining chair deep in thought, feeling a lingering sense of dissatisfaction. He propped his small hands on the chair, slid to the ground, and wandered around the villa with his short legs, searching unwillingly. Finally, he sighed, ran to Situ, tilted his head, blinked his eyes, and asked, "Daddy, where's mommy?" "C2U." The little one's eyes were filled with innocent brightness, piercingly painful to the heart. He felt both exasperated and helpless, unable to understand how someone could be so utterly unrestrained yet so timid. Just a hint of his feelings had been revealed, and she was frightened enough to run away from home. He lowered his head, his tone somewhat heavy. "She has a job." The little boy frowned slightly upon hearing this, pursing his lips even tighter. The nanny placed him in the high chair, and he obediently asked, "Daddy, did you and mommy get divorced?" "C2U." "No." The little boy let out a sigh of relief. Halfway through eating, his gaze unconsciously fixed on the egg yolk in front of him. Unable to hold back, he sighed and tilted his head to ask, "Then when will mommy come back?" "C2U." When something unusual happens, there must be something odd. He noticed the intact egg yolk placed on the little one's plate. No picky eating. Caught in the act, the little one froze slightly, then finally sighed helplessly and reluctantly stuffed the egg yolk into their mouth. In the end, C2U personally took the little one to kindergarten. On the way, the little one skillfully opened a carton of milk and habitually tried to feed it to someone beside them, only to realize they had fed the wrong person. He froze for a moment, staring at the man's cold profile and blinking, then lowered his head to look at the 4 cartons of milk, and then at his slightly rounded little belly. His gaze gently shifted to the man's serious, thin lips. Noticing his son's small expression, Situyu glanced over casually. "What's wrong?" Just as he opened his mouth, a straw was gently poked in. The little guy, nervous, squeezed the milk carton, and the taste of children's milk instantly spread in his mouth. Situyu's brow twitched sharply, suddenly feeling that being a father wasn't easy. On the other side, after fleeing overnight, Jiang Qianxia felt a bit regretful, but it was already too late for regrets, as by the time the father and son woke up, she had already landed on a plane thousands of kilometers away. Last night, in a moment of impulse, she disturbed Sister Yan in the middle of the night, asking about her schedule for today. Unexpectedly, there really was one. Sister Yan's friend is a small-time director who is currently filming a rural drama in the southern province. In the drama, a vase role had run away, and they urgently needed a suitable replacement. Originally, Sister Yan planned to ask the newcomers under her wing to see who was willing to step in and help. As a result, Jiang Qianxia's call came through. She said she was itching to work, any job would do, the sooner the better. So, Sister Yan recommended her. After getting off the plane, Jiang Qianxia received a call from Sister Yan, who informed her that the filming location was remote and the crew would send someone to pick her up later. She was advised to find a hotel to rest first. After finding a hotel, Sister Yan called again, her voice tired and apologetic. "Qianxia, I'm sorry, I didn't ask clearly. There's a bit of an issue with the script." Jiang Qianxia was startled. "What's wrong?" Sister Yan explained, "This script is a rural drama. I didn't ask clearly about the plot. That vase role is an evil stepmother who not only abuses children but also runs off with the family's elderly life-saving money in the end." Jiang Qianxia, seeing her silence, Sister Yan sighed. "Sorry, it's my fault for being too busy. I'll go decline it." "No need, Sister Yan, it's okay. I'm already here." Jiang Qianxia knew how absurd it was to ask Sister Yan to help find resources in the middle of the night. Friendships in the entertainment industry are also a matter of favors. Besides, she didn't actually reject playing a villain. She was just shocked by the content of the script. After all, she was already living in such a script in real life. Sister Yan was startled and hesitated. Did something happen at home again? Actually, when she received Jiang Qianxia's call in the middle of the night yesterday, Sister Yan was already a bit worried, but since Jiang Qianxia never mentioned anything about her family, she didn't feel it was appropriate to ask. However, in the past, she would never have taken on such a minor antagonist role. Hearing Sister Yan's concern, Jiang Qianxia felt a warmth in her heart. After holding it in all night, she just wanted to find someone to talk to, and Sister Yan was a bit older than her. Her heart stirred, and she decided to come clean. "Yan Jia, actually, there's something I've never told you. The villa you saw last time was a gift from my biological elder brother, Jiang Minghui. I entered into a marriage alliance, and my partner is the son of the Situ family." Yan Jia was stunned. When she saw the villa last time, she heard Jiang Qianxia's inner thoughts and guessed that she was a child of the Jiang family. She had simply assumed she was an illegitimate daughter, which was why she didn't dare to ask further. But now it sounds like that's clearly not the case. After all, the Jiang family family's status isn't as prominent as the Situ family, so how could they dare to use an illegitimate daughter for a marriage alliance? Sister Yen suddenly felt a bit confused. Wait, let me get this straight. You're not only the daughter of the Jiang family but also married into the Situ family? Is it the Situ I know, the richest man? But I remember. Hearing her hesitant tone, Jiang Qianxia knew she had misunderstood, thinking she was referring to the late Situ Yunxiao. Worried about being mistaken for a widow, Jiang Qianxia explained, it's the younger son. Sister Yen suddenly understood, then froze for a moment. The younger son? Huh? No, that's not right. The eldest son of the Situ family had an accident, so isn't the younger son the heir now? Sister Yen widened her eyes in shock and took a deep breath. So you're now the wife of the heir to the Situ family? Jiang Qianxia recalled what Situ had said before and sighed inwardly. I'm the mother of the future heir. Sister Yen didn't understand, her shock turning into even greater confusion. But what does this have to do with you taking on this lousy project? Jiang Qianxia sighed. Actually, we're in a fake marriage. Suddenly, Sister Yen understood and felt a pang of sympathy. You don't have to go this far either, Jiang Qianxia said helplessly, but it seems like he's fallen for me. Sister Yen was at a loss for words. That's it? So you're playing the runaway wife of a domineering CEO? She finally understood Jiang Qianxia's unusual behavior. She was shy. Jiang Qianxia, who was drinking water, choked on her manager's words and weakly said, Sister Yen. Sister Yen said faintly, the eldest son of the Situ family, I remember, is quite handsome. The younger son isn't bad either, right? Jiang Qianxia put down her water glass, thought for a moment, and sincerely said, Situ Yu is taller than his brother and a bit more handsome. Sister Yen, blessings. Jiang Qianxia felt her face burning a little and whispered, Sister Yen. Sister Yen reassured her, focus on your acting. Take a day or two off and hurry back home. This way, we definitely won't have to worry about negative trending searches in the future. Jiang Qianxia. After hanging up the phone, Jiang Qianxia collapsed onto the blanket in frustration. Ah, is she that obvious? Sister Yen noticed it too. She was clearly just purely coveting Situ Yu's good looks and his wallet. Soon, the crew sent someone to pick her up. The moment she saw the person, Jiang Qianxia froze. Her blood seemed to flow backward, and a wave of dizziness hit her. The middle-aged man who came to pick her up also froze upon seeing her face. After a moment, he took a deep breath and exclaimed, Oh my, are you the goddess? No, the superstar here to act? Jiang Qianxia regained her composure, tried to control her emotions, and nodded slightly. The man showed a simple and honest smile. Hello, my name is Lao Lin. The crew is heading into the mountains to film today, and they hired me to pick you up. As he spoke, his expression became uneasy, and he awkwardly scratched his head. I just didn't expect to be picking up such a fairy-like beauty like you. So, the more he spoke, the more embarrassed Lao Lin became. He wanted to help Jiang Qianxia with her suitcase, but seeing her pinkish white, spotless luggage, he didn't dare to step forward rashly. He could only chuckle awkwardly as he led her past a shiny Mercedes to a tractor. He continued to chuckle awkwardly. Hee, Miss Jiang, if you mind, I totally understand. Otherwise, you could call a car, and I'll lead the way in front. Jiang Qianxia looked at old Lin's square face, dark and ready, exuding an air of simplicity. She decisively grabbed her suitcase and got onto the tractor. Old Lin was so shocked his jaw nearly dropped. Looking at the fairy-like Jiang Qianxia actually sitting on his rusty tractor, he opened his mouth but finally only said, hold on tight, before quickly getting into the driver's seat. However, the speed on the way back was much slower than when they came. Especially after entering the village, driving too fast on the dirt road would cause dust to fly everywhere. Because Jiang Qianxia didn't show any disdain, old Lin found her approachable and gradually opened up, introducing her to the situation in Lingjia village along the way. As old Lin introduced, Jiang Qianxia occasionally asked a few curious questions. The more she asked, the colder her gaze became. Lin family village, the hometown of the original owner's beastly adoptive father. The tractor roared as it drove into the village, and the film crew shooting in the mountains finally wrapped up their filming. When the director learned that the villagers had paid 200 yuan to pick someone up, only to send a tractor, he was so furious he nearly exploded. He hurriedly ran over to personally apologize to Jiang Qianxia. When he saw Jiang Qianxia stepping off the tractor with a pale face, his sense of guilt deepened. Earlier in the morning, Sister Yen had scolded him harshly. After learning about the script's content, and only then did he realize that Sister Yen had arranged for this precious gem to come and save the day. Miss Qianxia, I truly apologize, the director said politely as he took Jiang Qianxia's suitcase. The crew was supposed to send someone to pick you up, but it turned out that this Chaoyang we've been waiting for finally arrived after several days, and we were short on manpower. I never expected something like this to happen. It's okay, Jiang Qianxia responded softly, completely unconcerned. The director breathed a sigh of relief and, feeling guilty, specially arranged a high-quality room for her, despite her being just a minor supporting role. Jiang Qianxia didn't stand on ceremony and immediately picked up the script to start reading it seriously. Seeing her so dedicated, the director couldn't help but glance at her again, secretly feeling relieved. Due to his acquaintance with Sister Yen, he naturally knew about the most famous, and most universally criticized, artist under her wing. Although being infamous still meant being famous, her reputation was even louder than that of the lead actor in his small, struggling production. However, Jiang Qianxia's easygoing nature left him puzzled, unable to understand why someone like her would have so much negative press. When she earnestly flipped through the script, he unexpectedly felt an invisible sense of intimidation, instinctively straightening his posture as if he were being inspected. When Jiang Qianxia finished reading the script, he cleared his throat and said, if there are no issues, shall we start filming this afternoon? Jiang Qianxia nodded. Just as the director was about to leave, she suddenly called out to him. Director, is this script based on a real person? The director was stunned for a moment and didn't answer immediately. Instead, he paused for 2 seconds and asked, why do you ask? Chanhong, in Lingjia village. Jiang Qianxia's gaze was sharp as she spoke firmly. The director's expression changed instantly. What? Chanhong, the cannon fodder role Jiang Qianxia was about to play, a woman who abused her stepchildren and ran off with money. She wasn't a villager but a city woman who followed a widower back to the village and became the stepmother of several children. Her identity made the widower cherish her especially, not letting letting her do farm work and only hoping she would take good care of the children. Unfortunately, while the widower was busy with farm work, she began to show her true colors, beating and scolding the children, even keeping the money sent back for herself, leaving the children pale and emaciated. In the end, when the widower had an accident and the compensation money arrived, she took the money and fled. In the play, she is portrayed as a lazy, heartless, and ungrateful person, but the truth is far from that. The director was stunned, his gaze turning hesitant. He took a deep breath and looked inquisitively at Jiang Qianxia, who seemed to know everything, and asked in a low voice, "How do you know?" Jiang Qianxia glanced at the script filled with a sinister aura, worried that telling the director the truth might scare him. She asked thoughtfully, "Is the script you gave me complete?" The director fell completely silent. It seemed Jiang Qianxia truly knew a lot. In the end, he admitted frankly, "It's not complete. The ending of the script is still a secret, and none of the actors know it yet." When speaking, the director stared intently into Jiang Qianxia's eyes, trying to discern something, but found her expression as calm as water, without a trace of fluctuation. He turned back and glanced at the door. "Do you mind if I close the door?" Jiang Qianxia noticed he wanted to reveal a secret and shook her head. "Go ahead." The director, like a thief, looked around cautiously before closing the door, ensuring no one was paying attention. Only then did he close it with confidence, and lower his voice to say, "Qianxia, what you said, Spring Red is in Lingjia village. What does that mean? Do you know the person who wrote the script?" Jiang Qianxia glanced at the female ghost flailing menacingly in front of the director but unable to harm him, and sighed, "I don't know her." The director was immediately puzzled. "Then how do you know Chunhong's ending? And also," he took a deep breath, lowering his voice in a warning tone, also probing, "Do you know what the situation in Chunhong's village is? You can't just say things like that carelessly. Most importantly, if this really is Chunhong's village, the crew might have to evacuate immediately. That's a human trafficking village." When he first got the script, he found it uninteresting after reading the beginning and casually tossed it aside. The content was quite ordinary, telling the everyday stories of a group of hardworking and simple villagers. Many of the wives in the village were outsiders, and the differences in living environments often led to minor quarrels between couples. Except for Chunhong, whose personality was slightly darker, the other disputes were hardly worth mentioning. He was an ambitious young director, dreaming of creating a heart-stirring series, securing investments, finding actors, every step required enormous funding. A script like this was something he never dared to hope could attract investors, so he didn't even consider it at first. Until one day, the script accidentally fell to the ground. He unintentionally caught a glimpse of the later content, and his heart instantly sank, a chill running down his spine. It was precisely this fear that sparked his determination to film the script no matter what. Because, on the last page of the script, there was a striking sentence: "The script is based on true events." Chunhong never escaped from Lingjia village. On the night she tried to flee, she was surrounded by the entire village and beaten to death under the willow tree by the river at the village entrance. Using cobblestones and farming tools, her body was battered beyond recognition, her blood staining the river red and slowly dispersing with the stream. Even more horrifying, they dismembered Chunhong and each household took a piece back to deal with separately. After that, no matter how fiercely the wives of Lingjia village quarreled, none of them ever tried to escape again. They stayed to bear children, some becoming silent, while others indulged in nocturnal revelries, since bred in the darkness. As long as the sun rises the next day, the village returns to its usual tranquility and the scenes of diligent labor resume as usual. The director exchanged glances with Jiang Qianxia, feeling defeated in his heart. He said dejectedly, "Do you have any evidence?" Jiang Qianxia glanced at Chunhong, who had gradually calmed down because the script had not been cut by the director, and felt a pang of sorrow. She said softly, "Because my adoptive father is named Lin Zhongqing." Jiang Qianxia's words made Chunhong's eyes widen and left the director stunned. Jiang Qianxia continued, "Lin Zhongqing grew up in Lingjia village. When he was young, his father was away for long periods, and his mother passed away early." The director's expression became subtle until he heard Jiang Qianxia's next words. His eyes widened completely in shock. One day, Lin Zhongqing's father returned, accompanied by a woman as elegant as a noble lady, declaring that she was their stepmother. The director's lips trembled slightly, and his pupils suddenly contracted. "Lin Zhongqing, Xiaoqing. Your adoptive father is Xiaoqing from the script?" The stepson who first hit Chunhong's head with a cobblestone. The moment he realized this, the director's face turned pale, and he looked at Jiang Qianxia in horror. He had just asked how Jiang Qianxia knew. In theory, this script should have been a secret known to no one. Apart from the mysterious playwright, the only one who knew the truth was the criminal. And Xiaoqing was Jiang Qianxia's foster father. Whose side is she really on? The director's legs trembled slightly, his throat dry, as he watched Jiang Qianxia warily. Noticing his fear and defensiveness, Jiang Qianxia shook her head helplessly. She had originally thought that the director would be braver in uncovering the truth, especially since he had already ventured deep into the lion's den. But it turned out he had no idea that this was the lion's den. Seeing Jiang Qianxia's speechless attitude, the director's expression turned awkward, yet he still didn't let his guard down, quietly taking 2 steps back. "Then why do you know so much about it and still dare to come back here?" Jiang Qianxia pondered for a moment, her gaze shifting to Chunhong beside the director. With a probing look fixed on Chunhong, she said softly, "Because Chunhong told me." The director instinctively nodded, but halfway through, he suddenly raised his head, a strange look flashing in his eyes as he stared at Jiang Qianxia. Chunhong also nodded, then stared in disbelief, seemingly unable to believe that this girl would lie right in front of her. Jiang Qianxia looked at the synchronized shock of the person and the ghost, showing a hint of relief. She sighed, "Director, Chunhong has always been by your side, supervising your filming. Do you believe it?" As soon as these words were spoken, the director and Chunhong froze together once again. The director looked at Jiang Qianxia in disbelief. Chunhong was also stunned, her eyes full of shock. "You can see me?" Jiang Qianxia nodded. Chunhong's eyes widened even more. "Really?" Jiang Qianxia nodded again. "Really?" Watching Jiang Qianxia casually talk to the air beside him, the director suddenly felt a chill down his spine. He vaguely sensed that the place Jiang Qianxia was looking at seemed even colder. His face gradually turned pale. "Miss Jiang, you can't joke about such things." misunderstandings. This. Jiang Qianxia no longer paid attention to the excited Chunhong but instead seriously said to the director, if you want to meet Chunhong, I can help. The director's face turned pale, and he waved his hands repeatedly. No. Although he found Jiang Qianxia's words absurd and laughable, for some reason, he suddenly recalled the strange events when he received the script and saw its ending. Originally, he just thought he hadn't placed it properly, but how could a script that had been eliminated end up on his desk and even get knocked off by him? Thinking carefully, this wasn't the first time the script had been misplaced. If he hadn't accidentally seen that script that time, there would have been countless more instances of misplacement. Thinking deeply about it is terrifying. The director's legs began to weaken, and he leaned powerlessly against the wall, his face showing an expression of fear. So, the script was given to me by Chunhong? Jiang Qianxia glanced at Chunhong, who was frowning and disdainful of the director's cowardice, and lightly raised her foot to kick her. Yes, she wrote it herself. The director frowned, suddenly realizing a blind spot in his panic. But that doesn't make sense. Based on the timeline you mentioned, how could someone from Chunhong's era possibly write a script, let alone know to find me, a director, to film it? After the director finished speaking, he felt goosebumps rise all over his arm. Little did he know, the moment he finished speaking, Chunhong had already put her hands on her hips, pointing at his nose and scolding him as a country bumpkin and ignorant. Jiang Qianxia glanced at her helplessly and explained on her behalf. Do you still remember that Chunhong is from the city? She's not just from the city, she came back from abroad during that era. As she spoke, she noticed Chunhong's shocked expression but didn't rush to explain. Instead, she continued speaking to the director. If you still want to continue filming this drama, I suggest you come up with a way to avoid arousing the villagers' suspicions. Otherwise, I'm afraid the crew won't even be able to leave the village. The director instantly caved. Then I'll find another village to shoot in. Chunhong, standing nearby, immediately flew into a rage, her ferocious side showing as she lashed out at the director, even though the director couldn't hear her. Jiang Qianxia. She paused for a moment and still helped Chunhong translate. Chunhong means, if you dare to change the location, she'll come to see you tonight. After saying that, Chunhong frantically urged her again, adding another sentence. Jiang Qianxia, she said, I'm shooting right here, no matter what. Seeing the director's face turn completely ashen, Jiang Qianxia sighed. You might want to think of a solution. For now, Chunhong probably won't follow you anymore. She'll stay with me. The director was so shocked by Jiang Qianxia's words that his eyes became uneven. 0.0. He swallowed hard. You're serious? You're actually a master in that field? Jiang Qianxia spread her hands. I wouldn't call myself a master, just a novice in the metaphysical arts, specializing in physiognomy and talent. If you really don't believe me, shall I let you meet Chunhong? The director quickly shook his head like a rattledrum, the astonishment on his face beyond words. Jiang Qianxia saw that he was still half convinced and said, the lunchboxes your wife gave to your roommate back then were all eaten by you. The director froze, his gaze incredulously fixed on Jiang Qianxia. This matter, besides his roommate, who else could know? Jiang Qianxia noticed his expression and continued to strike. Actually, your wife has always known. The director's eyes widened even further. Impossible. His wife is his roommate's younger sister, who frequently brought lunchboxes to her brother. In fact, those were all culinary experiments. The roommate would secretly throw them away each time, pretending to tell his sister they tasted good. The sister thought she had succeeded, only to end up being backfired upon. But he secretly took over the roommate's task of taste testing, secretly helping his wife by trying her food. From then on, he endured the pain of eating until they graduated from college, and the sister became a gourmet. Didn't you notice the lunchboxes were getting tastier and tastier? Jiang Qianxia asked coldly. The director froze, then his eyes and nose stung with emotion. Are you saying? Jiang Qianxia nodded. Yes, after your wife fell for you, the lunchboxes she sent were all ones she had tasted herself. After confirming the answer to his suspicion, the director completely forgot to ask Jiang Qianxia whether Chunhong had followed him. Overwhelmed with emotion, he rushed out to call his wife. After the director left, Chunhong slowly floated in front of Jiang Qianxia, her elegant demeanor exuding a touch of mystery and nobility. She gently tucked her hair behind her ear, her gaze probing as she looked at Jiang Qianxia. Who are you? Jiang Qianxia's eyes locked onto Chunhong. She appeared to be around 27 or 28 years old, with a delicate face and a unique aura. Despite wearing the attire of rural women from decades ago, she radiated an extraordinary charm. Perhaps influenced by the subconscious of fashion, her outfit was no different from that of young girls today. Black high-waisted wide-leg pants, a floral shirt tucked into the waistband, outlining a slender figure. And this, just like the streets of Paris a few years ago. Indeed, she had lived in Paris before. Only, she had already forgotten. Jiang Qianxia was puzzled as to why even ghosts could lose their memories and slowly spoke. I am the adopted daughter of Lin Zhongqing and Lin Junya. Upon hearing this, Chunhong's expression changed slightly. She stared at Jiang Qianxia, her gaze sharp as a knife. Do you know that Lin Zhongqing is my enemy? If you mention your relationship with him again, I'll hold you accountable for his sins. Jiang Qianxia paused for a moment, then revealed a relaxed smile. No worries, you can't beat me. Chunhong froze. Clearly, she had countless ties to Lin Zhongqing, so why didn't she dislike this child? It was just an itch in her hands. She moved her fingers slightly, then helplessly let them drop. But she truly couldn't win, let alone this mystic sect practitioner before her. She couldn't even handle an ordinary person right now. Thinking of this, Chunhong's thin shoulders completely slumped. After a moment, she lazily found a chair, leaned against the backrest, and said weakly, what exactly is your purpose? She wasn't stupid. If this girl hadn't taken the initiative to reveal that she could see her, she wouldn't have noticed at all. What's more, later on, she even revealed her identity and helped that director explain the latter part of the script. To put it bluntly, it was helping her. To make this movie happen, her ghostly energy was almost completely drained. Even if that director really deleted the ending, she was helpless and could only fret on the sidelines, following the director like venting her frustration, creating a trace of cold air that wasn't even enough to give him a cold. So, why are you helping me? Chunhong lazily shifted her posture, her tone changing once again. Jiang Qianxia was surprised by her change. Chunhong misunderstood and revealed a hint of childish pride. Humph, don't look down on me now that I'm weak. Back in the day, I was a powerful vengeful spirit. It's just that, over the years, you've stayed in the village, devouring many ghosts, and have grown weaker and weaker. Those who had dismembered her in the past suffered her revenge while alive, and even in death, they couldn't escape. Before their death, they dismembered Chen Hong. After their death, their souls were torn apart, leaving them no chance for reincarnation. Chen Hong originally intended to appear profound and unfathomable, but who would have thought Jiang Qianxia would expose her with a single remark, causing her expression to instantly turn wary. In the eyes of some practitioners of the mystical arts, eating ghosts is a sin, and she herself is considered a great evil spirit. But Jiang Qianxia did not look at her with that kind of gaze. Instead, a sincere smile appeared, and he praised, I know, this is the justice of heaven, cause and effect, but you're amazing, you did it. Chun Hong's ghostly figure froze, incredulous, yet a trace of warmth rose in her heart. A ghost should only harbor hatred, incapable of other emotions, but at this moment, she felt a long-lost ache and softness. This child, it seems she truly knows everything and even believes that everything she does is right. She actually praised her. She has not been without encounters with righteous people. When she once tore apart the village chief's soul, a passing Taoist priest noticed her resentment and hatred. He did not stop her from seeking revenge, but his eyes were filled with disappointment. He once advised her that if she continued like this, she might not even have a chance at reincarnation. Seeing Chen Hong stubbornly refuse to change, he shook his head and sighed, feeling that her choice was not worth it. However, Chen Hong felt it was very much worth it. Those who have not experienced it cannot understand that kind of pain. Her enemies, if not eliminated, would leave her restless. Reincarnation to resolve grievances? Leave retribution to divine justice? No, she wanted to become her own justice. Even if it meant being reduced to ashes, she would not hesitate. And now, this little girl actually said she did well. Chun Hong's ghostly eyes shimmered with light as she stared at Jiang Qianxia. The more she looked, the more familiar she felt. With a thought, Chen Hong blinked. I feel we are very connected. How about after I take my revenge, you become my goddaughter, and I'll serve as your ghost attendant. Originally feeling that Chen Hong was unexpectedly a bit cute, Jiang Qianxia was suddenly startled. This doesn't seem quite appropriate. Judging by age, you should be from my grandmother's generation, Jiang Qianxia said awkwardly. Upon hearing this, Chen Hong frowned, feeling somewhat displeased. She touched her numb face and muttered, I should have been very young when I died. Do you think this face looks like a grandmother's? After thinking for a moment, she still felt a bit dissatisfied. Standing up with her hands on her hips, she said, Hey, it's already good enough that I didn't make you call me sister. Jiang Qianxia's mouth twitched. But, you really are my grandmother. Chen Hong froze, staring at Jiang Qianxia's unmoving mouth in shock and uncertainty. What's going on? She fixed her gaze on Jiang Qianxia's mouth, and then heard it again. Sigh, how could things coincide like this? The mother and daughter arrived at Lingjia village just 3 years apart. Does she even remember that she has another daughter? Or did something happen, and after becoming a ghost, she never encountered Lin Junya? Should I say it or not? Should I ask old Chen about the foster mother's former name? But old Chen has been exhausted searching for his daughter for 50 years. If he finds out how miserable his ex-wife ended up, can his body handle it? Jiang Qianxia grew more and more conflicted as she thought about it, sighing quietly. Sigh, who would have thought that Chen Hong was actually old Chen's ex-wife, not dead, and even brought into Lingjia village with amnesia. Human traffickers truly deserve to die. Chen Hong stared blankly at Jiang Qianxia, who was lost in thought, as if struck by lightning. What? She was married before, and has a daughter? Moreover, she also entered Lingjia village. Jiang Qianxia was just thinking when she suddenly felt that Chun Hong's aura in front of her was off. Clearly, the ghostly aura was already so weak it was about to dissipate. So how did the resentment suddenly surge, becoming much more solid in an instant? Moreover, she seemed on the verge of losing control. Jiang Qianxia was startled. There was no time to think further. To prevent Chen Hong from completely losing control, she hurriedly raised her hand and performed the ghost servant contract she hadn't fully mastered yet. 10 minutes later, the contract was established. Jiang Qianxia suddenly felt that Chun Hong's gaze towards her was somewhat unusual. Very unusual. Imagine a young woman looking at you with a loving gaze, as if you were a little baby. Even stranger, Chen Hong seemed to have seen through her thoughts and said with a smile, I thought about it, and you're right. Based on age, I could indeed be your grandmother, but I don't like the title grandmother. How about calling me grandma instead? Speaking, Chen Hong tried hard to suppress the smile at the corner of her mouth, attempting to appear composed. Jiang Qianxia's mouth twitched slightly, feeling even more peculiar. However, Chen Hong mercilessly rushed forward, gently patted her head, then floated back, resuming her calm demeanor, slightly raising her chin. Alright, now I'm your ghost attendant. Following you is only natural. That little director came looking for you. Sure enough, Chen Hong's judgment was spot on. The director had just left when the screenwriter arrived, quickly revising the script to make it more discreet. Some plot points were rearranged, making it feel like two completely different stories when filmed. The director confidently said, Don't worry, this time they definitely won't figure it out. Speaking, he lowered his voice and leaned closer to Jiang Qianxia. Besides, I have an even more brilliant idea. Take a look at the script first, and you'll understand later. Seeing the director leaning so close, Chen Hong put her hands on her hips, furrowed her delicate brows, and stormed up to the director, angrily saying, Hey, if you're talking, just talk. Why are you leaning so close? After the director left, Chen Hong was still fuming. She earnestly advised Jiang Qianxia, You're young and don't understand. You're beautiful, and there are plenty of men out there with bad intentions. You must be careful. Seeing her almost puffed up like a pufferfish, Jiang Qianxia felt a warmth in her heart and obediently nodded. Okay. She had originally planned to argue with the little girl, but unexpectedly, Chen Hong turned out to be so obedient. Chen Hong, feeling a bit disappointed and helpless, stepped aside and sprawled on a chair like a lazy cat, waiting for Jiang Qianxia Qianxia to memorize the script. After Jiang Qianxia finished memorizing the script, the director's assistant came over to inform her it was time to eat. Jiang Qianxia followed the assistant and found that there were many people eating together. It turns out the director's surprise was spending money to hire these villagers as extras. Jiang Qianxia silently held her bowl, watching these enthusiastic, laughing villagers, feeling a wave of discomfort in her heart. A village that has endured 3 generations of human traffickers seems to have completely forgotten and buried that sin. The innocent eyes of the children are filled with joy and happiness, and this happiness and joy, tracing back to their bloodline, turned out to be an evil flower grown from the blood and tears of countless women. Suddenly, a cheerful voice interrupted Jiang Qianxia's heavy thoughts. Who would have thought the little director actually has some brains? Let their descendants personally uncover their sins. Spring Hong rested her chin on her hand, nodding in satisfaction. Jiang Qianxia couldn't help but smile as well. With such an ending, even Spring Hong felt satisfied. All she could do now was focus on acting well. Afterward, thanks to Spring Hong's personal guidance, Jiang Qianxia's filming went exceptionally smoothly. The director was dumbfounded. Sometimes, he even felt that one take was enough, but Jiang Qianxia would voluntarily suggest shooting again, saying she could perform better. In fact, she did perform better. When Jiang Qianxia left, the director's gaze at her had completely changed. He never expected that Jiang Qianxia's acting skills would be so outstanding, portraying the role of Chunhong with such depth and precision. Even though his understanding of Chunhong was limited to a few lines in the script, he felt that Jiang Qianxia had brought Chunhong vividly to life. Jiang Qianxia felt slightly awkward upon hearing the director's praise. However, Chunhong, who was personally guiding her nearby, looked completely satisfied, a confident smile curling at the corners of her mouth. No wonder you're my granddaughter. Not bad, not bad. As she spoke, she tilted her head and praised herself. It seems I do have a bit of a talent for directing. Jiang Qianxia couldn't help but laugh. Chunhong immediately felt her face heat up, put away her self-absorbed expression, and adopted a noble and elegant demeanor. What she didn't finish saying was that she vaguely felt she might have actually had some experience in acting before losing her memory. Still can't remember. She looked at Jiang Qianxia's back of the head and silently apologized in her heart. I'm sorry, granddaughter. Although I don't know why I can hear your thoughts, I must recover my memory, so for now, I can only eavesdrop to see if there are any clues. On the 3rd day in Lingjia village, Jiang Qianxia finally finished filming the originally planned scenes. In fact, the director's concerns never materialized. The elderly villagers had long since aged, the gravely ill remained gravely ill, and those who had passed away were naturally gone. No one remembered that incident anymore. Moreover, they dared not bring it up. The ridiculous thing is, they committed all kinds of evil, yet afterward, they are even afraid to recall it. Many people back then were just children and had never even heard of Chunhong's name. So, the director mustered up his courage, a bold idea flashing through his mind. He wanted to film the upcoming scenes all at once. After listening, Jiang Qianxia glanced at Chunhong, who looked worried beside her, and agreed without hesitation. After the director left, Chunhong took a deep breath and finally couldn't hold back, poking Jiang Qianxia's head with a ghostly hand. Do you have a death wish? Jiang Qianxia instantly imagined the little old lady stomping her feet in anger and couldn't help but laugh out loud. She comforted her, saying, don't worry, times are different now. I'll make preparations in advance. Although she felt the risk was minimal, she understood the principle of a wise man does not stand under a dangerous wall. Therefore, she decided to seek help before filming. As for who to ask for help, if it were before, she would have chosen Sitayu without hesitation. Now, she chose Old Chen. After hearing Jiang Qianxia's inner thoughts, Chunhong felt relieved, but still glared and said, no filming allowed. She had heard earlier that the director initially assigned another actor for the runaway Chunhong scene. Because the footage couldn't pass the review, Chunhong's escape sequence actually didn't have much screen time. After being captured and tortured, her physique and complexion changed drastically. Bruised and battered, covered in scars, there was no need for the same actress. Most importantly, she couldn't bear to look directly at her beautiful granddaughter, playing her dark past. Too ugly, too embarrassing, she couldn't accept it. Jiang Qianxia didn't expect Chunhong's reaction to be so intense, but she did want to see it through to the end. Because, in this world, only she can truly portray Chunhong. Even Chunhong herself cannot achieve it. Chunhong has forgotten the first half of her life, forgotten her former pride. She only knows that this is not where she belongs. She must leave. But Jiang Qianxia understands what lies behind her departure. Because Jiang Qianxia insisted on portraying Chunhong's ending, Chunhong fled in a fit of rage. In an instant, the ghostly figure vanished into the night, but Jiang Qianxia was not worried. She knew Chunhong wouldn't run too far. Even though Chunhong was currently weak and powerless, this land was her domain. She was already the ghost king here, having devoured countless spirits. Jiang Qianxia withdrew her gaze and dialed Mr. Chen's number. The call connected, and Mr. Chen's voice carried excitement as he was about to discuss the trip to Lingjia village with Jiang Qianxia. Unexpectedly, Jiang Qianxia told him that she was already in Lingjia village. Mr. Chen paused for a moment, feeling puzzled as to why she had arrived early, but he was not angry. Jiang Qianxia explained, sorry, Mr. Chen, I came over early due to some work, but now I've run into some trouble. Mr. Chen, upon hearing this, originally wanted to correct Jiang Qianxia's form of address but stopped, asking with concern, what happened? Jiang Qianxia took a deep breath and briefly recounted the situation in Lingjia village. She omitted Chunhong's identity because she was unsure about Mr. Chen's past relationship with Chunhong, and she also knew that Mr. Chen had long been fond of the grandmother next door. This matter is hard to bring up. After hearing this, Old Chen immediately became anxious. He hurriedly stood up with his cane. Qianxia girl, don't rush to shoot. I'll arrange for someone to come over right away. Hearing the old man's worried tone, Jiang Qianxia felt a warmth in her heart and softly said, Grandpa, thank you. Old Chen paused his movements, then laughed heartily. All right, don't be afraid, don't act rashly. If the director is in a hurry, just throw money at him to make him wait, understand? Wait until the people I arrange arrive before doing anything. Jiang Qianxia nodded obediently. Okay, thank you. The old man stroked his mustache. Don't be polite with me again, or I'll get angry. Jiang Qianxia, all right. The The old man was about to hang up the phone to make arrangements when he heard Jiang Qianxia ask softly, "Grandpa, Lin, what was Mom's name before?" Old Mr. Chen was taken aback for a moment, not expecting her to ask this. However, he was happy to talk about his daughter, as the two children still cared for each other but had never reconciled. He stopped, leaned on his cane, and said, "Shi-yi, Chen Shi-yi, she is in cherish, and E means just right." Chen Shi-yi, Jiang Qianxia murmured softly, then casually asked, "Grandpa, may I ask Grandma's name?" Old Mr. Chen was startled, a trace of regret and nostalgia flashing in his eyes as he thought of his stubborn and valiant late wife. After she left with their daughter back then, what lingered in his heart was more regret than resentment. He often fantasized whether the outcome would have been different if he had taken a step back. By the time he heard news of her again, they were already separated by life and death, and regret and resentment had lost their meaning. Yan, E, Chun. The old man's voice was somewhat hoarse, as if he hadn't mentioned these words in years, but after saying them, it seemed to open the floodgates. However, she didn't like this name, thinking it was too rustic. She preferred to call herself Helene, in French, because she believed she was the son. As he spoke, Mr. Chen seemed to return to decades ago, when he was a spirited and promising young designer, encountering the equally passionate Yan Yichuan in a design competition. At that time, they joined forces for the so-called Chinese spirit, stunning all the white faces present. However, patriotism was one thing. Afterward, neither would yield to the other, leading to endless competition. They came to know, understand, and love each other, both feeling they had found another version of themselves. But the two competitive individuals ultimately parted ways unhappily in their rivalry. Jiang Qianxia listened to the old man's story, as if traveling back with him to those romantic memories of Paris. Perhaps due to the filter of time, even the regret of parting unhappily carried a touch of romance. However, romance and life are far apart. Life holds only regret. Jiang Qianxia couldn't help but sigh. Over there, seeing Jiang Qianxia silent, the old man smiled with relief. It's all in the past. Life is like this, rarely perfect. Just cherish what we have now. Yes, Jiang Qianxia responded, but her heart was still sighing. If the story really ended like that, it would be nothing more than a sigh. But I have already met Yan Yichuan. On the other end of the phone, the old man's hand slipped. Clatter. The phone was heavily thrown to the ground. A moment later, old Chen picked up the phone hesitantly, his voice trembling. "Qianxia girl, what did you just say?" "I didn't hold my phone steady." Jiang Qianxia lowered her head, her heart surging with emotions. "It's better not to tell old Chen about Yan Yichuan for now. I'll think it through before saying anything," she said softly. "I said, you are right." On the other end of the phone, old Master Chen almost dropped the phone again. This time, he was sure he hadn't misheard. Qianxia girl actually said the three words Yan Yichuan. Instantly, old Master Chen's heart was shaken. Could it be that Yan Yichuan didn't die in the car accident back then? Then where is she now? No way. Old Mr. Chen felt anxious, and his original plan to personally visit Linjia village became even more urgent. While saying goodbye to Jiang Qianxia, his steps didn't stop, and he hurriedly walked out. He had to personally make a trip to Linjia village. After hanging up the phone, Jiang Qianxia was suddenly startled, only to see a lazy female ghost floating by the window. Her heartbeat suddenly quickened, and she asked Chunhong, when did you come back?" Chunhong gave her a strange look and said, "What? Are you talking about some secret you don't want me to hear?" "Let me tell you, I came back a long time ago. I heard everything." The ghost's haughty demeanor clearly showed she hadn't heard anything, and Jiang Qianxia let out a slight sigh of relief. The director came over again to discuss the script with her. Spring Red still leaned against the window, waving at her. "Hurry back. I'll bask in the sun for a while." Although Jiang Qianxia couldn't understand why a ghost would enjoy sunbathing, she thought of the name Spring Red had given herself when she was alive and figured perhaps it was elegance and romance ingrained in her very bones. But as soon as she left, the smile on Spring Red's face gradually faded. She lowered her head, frowned, and softly repeated, "Chen Shi, Yan Yichuan, Helene." Thinking and thinking, her head suddenly felt a splitting pain, and immediately afterward, a familiar melody emerged in her mind. She slowly opened her mouth, singing in perfect French. "Helene, je m'appelle Helene. My name is Helene. Je suis une fille. P.S. This song is from the 90s, borrowed slightly here." Her grandparents met in France around the 70s. Chunhong did not follow her to find the director, and Jiang Qianxia secretly breathed a sigh of relief. She thought to herself that Chunhong would rather expose her own scars than let the crimes remain hidden. She wanted everyone to remember this woman, to remember her suffering, and even more so, to remember her extraordinary brilliance. Chunhong's early life was like the dazzling sun of Paris, yet such a talented woman was cruelly buried by this sinful village. This stark contrast would stir greater public outrage, achieving an effect far beyond the original script. When Jiang Qianxia finished speaking, the director and the junior screenwriter looked at her excitedly, praising her for her talent in screenwriting. The script they had received contained little description of Chunhong's background. Initially, they thought the intention was to deliberately vilify Chunhong, to create a strong contrast, but for some reason, they felt that if those meticulously crafted details were removed, the entire story would lose its soul. Jiang Qianxia greatly enriched Chunhong's background, instantly breathing life into the script. She was not a drama queen, she was inherently noble. Of course, this does not mean that returning from Paris automatically makes one nobler, but during that era, domestic resources were scarce, and the people were still struggling for basic sustenance. In developed countries, where basic needs and physiological demands were met, people pursued more spiritual and artistic fulfillment. Chunhong was the embodiment of art. "I have a feeling, if I go numb, it will definitely explode." The director was so excited that he wanted to spin around holding Jiang Qianxia, but considering his identity and gender, he hesitated for a moment, then turned to hug the male screenwriter and spun around. The male screenwriter, who had been equally excited, now looked terrified and shouted, "Don't come near me." Jiang Qianxia. Of course, revising the script had another advantage. Chunhong had returned from France, and the people of Linjia village would never have imagined she had such a background. However, not everyone was satisfied with this change, such as the film's leading actress. The narrative style of the movie was from the perspective of an observer, and the protagonist was this observer, or rather, she was a Chunhong who had narrowly escaped disaster. disaster. Actually, she had only seen Chunhong 3 times. The first time, she was visiting relatives with her family. Upon entering the village, she saw a strikingly beautiful woman who seemed out of place. She heard that the woman was unfaithful and mistreated her stepchildren. Her mother forbade her from looking too much, fearing she might pick up bad habits. When leaving the village, she saw the woman impatiently driving her stepchildren out of the house in the cold winter. The emaciated children huddled in a corner, shivering. She couldn't help but take another glance. She didn't particularly like the man her family had arranged for her to meet, but since her family thought he was suitable, she didn't object. However, the man ended up falling for a girl from the city and broke things off with her. She felt embarrassed but also relieved. Just then, the college entrance exams were reinstated, and she was too excited to feel heartbroken. She eagerly signed up for the exams. For some reason, as she walked down the street, she suddenly thought of that fleeting glimpse of the woman touching her own face. She wondered in confusion, are all city women that beautiful? It must be a distant and bustling city, she thought. If so, it must be the capital. With that, she decided to apply to a university in the capital. At the time, she didn't realize that what had captivated her wasn't just that beautiful face but a unique aura. Driven by this obsession, she worked tirelessly and, riding the wave of the first reinstated college entrance exams, she actually got into a university in the capital. On the day she received the admission letter and set off, she saw that woman again. Her face was haggard, as if she had lost her vitality, but her eyes remained bright. She hurriedly packed her belongings and boarded the same train as her. However, the crowded throng soon engulfed her, and the woman's figure quickly disappeared from sight. After graduating from university, she decided to return home to contribute to her hometown's development. Upon returning, she thought of that woman again. This time, she understood what made the light in those eyes so extraordinary. She suddenly couldn't believe that someone with such eyes could be the disgraceful person the villagers described. Back home, she asked her mother about the woman, only to learn that she had long since fled with money, abandoning the elderly and children without mercy, earning widespread contempt. The story had spread across villages far and wide, and everyone regarded it as shameful. Upon hearing this, her first reaction was disappointment, and her second was to recall their encounter on the train, feeling a quiet sense of lament in her heart. Later, one year, she returned to Lingjia village again. This time, she came with a geological engineering team. While surveying in the village, she unexpectedly ran into her former matchmaking prospect. She heard that his city girlfriend couldn't endure the poverty of the village and left him not long after. Later, he married a wife, but she passed away shortly after. After his wife passed away, he remained single and eventually came back to seek her out again. Over the years, she went to college, returned to her hometown to contribute to its development, and has now become a geology professor at a university. Meanwhile, the other person is no longer without achievements and has become the village chief. Thus, her relatives, seeing a widower and a widow, began trying to match them up. She had no particular thoughts about this, but this person, using his position as village chief, frequently came to guide their geology team, which led to rumors that he was pursuing her. But only she knew that this was not the case. As the other party became increasingly enthusiastic, she gradually noticed some oddities. This person seemed particularly concerned about their engineering team's survey mission, constantly following them and occasionally offering suggestions. Sometimes, he would recount some strange local folklore, scaring the young students of the geology team into trembling. However, she did not believe these stories. Instead, she found the village chief even more suspicious, suspecting he had ulterior motives. Under her secret observation, she discovered that this person was deliberately misleading the survey team, so she decided to gather a few team members and quietly explore the secret at night. Finally, one night, they dug up bones suspected to be human remains in a certain part of the village. The geological team quickly notified the police and began a covert investigation. After more than half a year of guerrilla efforts, they finally uncovered the long-hidden crime. Those fragmented bones ultimately pieced together the final glimpse she had missed on the train all those years ago. Chunhong's spot was empty. She ultimately failed to board that train. The script added Chunhong's background, requiring reshoots of previously filmed scenes, and the ending now included Chunhong's memory flashbacks in France. As soon as the new script was finalized, the lead actress's expression immediately turned displeased. Although she had no status or voice in the industry, she couldn't help but vent privately to her friends. This is just too much. Are people in the entertainment industry all this arrogant? It's just a cameo, yet they can change the script just because of a bit of hype. And it's for such a controversial character. Her friend, equally outraged after hearing this, offered advice. How about this? Keep the evidence for now, and when the movie is released, you shouldn't let the hype go to waste. The female lead's eyes lit up upon hearing this, and immediately turned to Jiang Qianxia, her gaze flickering. Outside, Jiang Qianxia was reshooting a scene. She wanted to see just how good the acting skills of this internet blacklisted actress were, to the point where she could casually change the script. However, as she watched Jiang Qianxia pass several takes in one go, the female lead's expression gradually turned puzzled. Is it really that good? The female lead is not actually professionally trained. Her acting relies entirely on self-exploration. She just feels that Jiang Qianxia's acting is slightly better than the ridicule online. But is it really that good? Good enough to deserve repeated praise from the director? Even the screenwriter revolves around her. Is it because of her face, or her fame? The more she thought about it, the more unwilling the heroine felt. Taking advantage of no one noticing, she secretly pulled out her phone. Jiang Qianxia had just finished filming the last segment and was about to rest when she suddenly saw Chunhong behind the heroine, frowning angrily. Dear granddaughter, come here quickly. This woman secretly took photos of you. Seems like she wants to smear you. As she spoke, she pulled Jiang Qianxia toward the heroine. But under the watchful eyes of everyone, Jiang Qianxia did not go over. She could tell that the leading actress was somewhat jealous and also guessed the source of her dissatisfaction. The other party was probably upset with the director's praise, thinking the director was trying to curry favor with her, which led to the secret filming. She wasn't worried. After all, with so much dirt already, one more scandal wouldn't matter. Perhaps it might even help her clear the bad reputation of her poor acting skills. However, there's no need to care about these minor troubles now. Take things as they come. become, deal with soldiers with generals, and water with earth. These words, Jiang Qianxia couldn't explain to Chunhong, as others couldn't see Chunhong. In the end, it still made Chunhong so angry she couldn't stand it. After Jiang Qianxia finished her scenes, she returned to the room to explain, only to find Chunhong curled up angrily on the windowsill, ignoring her. Grandma was truly excessively adorable, leaving Jiang Qianxia a bit helpless. At that moment, her phone rang. Seeing it was old Chen, she walked to the other side of the room to answer. Qianxia girl, nothing happened, right? On the other end of the phone, Mr. Chen's voice was full of energy, and Jiang Qianxia immediately smiled. It's nothing, don't worry, I'm very safe. That's good. Just wait a little longer, I'll be at the village entrance soon. Jiang Qianxia smiled, then suddenly froze, abruptly stood up, and exclaimed in shock, what? You're coming over here? Mr. Chen heard her panicked voice and sighed. As for me, when I was young, I couldn't protect my wife and daughter. Now, am I supposed to just watch you, this little girl, take risks? Just consider it my heartfelt intention. When she first came to this world, Jiang Qianxia experienced nothing but indifference and terrible family relationships. Later, she met some good people, especially old Master Chen, who unhesitatingly treated her as a junior. When the other party played the emotional card, she was truly at a loss for words. Hearing her silence, old Master Chen knew his words had worked and quickly comforted her, saying, don't worry, your grandfather has weathered many storms and will make proper arrangements. Moreover, I will protect you, and even myself. You can rest assured 1,000 times over. As he spoke, Jiang Qianxia heard someone next to the old master mention willow trees. Suddenly, she guessed that the old man and the others had really arrived at the village entrance. She quickly got up and wanted to head out. Before leaving, she turned back and gently coaxed, don't be angry. I couldn't talk to you earlier in front of others. I have something to do now, but I'll come back later to explain, alright? Chunhong ignored her, waved her hand dismissively, and turned her back, looking as if she didn't want to engage. Jiang Qianxia pressed her lips together and quickly went out to greet old Chen. However, as soon as she stepped out of the room, Chunhong raised her head, seemingly deep in thought, and then drifted away. When Jiang Qianxia arrived at the village entrance, Zhen Lao's bodyguard was enthusiastically chatting with the villagers. She approached and overheard the bodyguard mentioning that the old man was looking for a picturesque village to recuperate for 2 months. The old man noticed Jiang Qianxia, and a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. He sized her up twice but did not take the initiative to greet her. Instead, he continued asking the village officials about the situation. Is there such a beautiful girl in your village? The village official, who was enthusiastically introducing the village and subtly probing the old man's background, froze. He realized that this big boss was here for some quiet rest, and if he mentioned that there was a film crew in the village, he might think it was too noisy. Maybe he should inquire about the price. If the big boss offered more than the crew, it wouldn't be a bad idea to kick the crew out. The village official's eyes darted as he was about to respond vaguely, but suddenly he saw Jiang Qianxia walking toward them. Trouble, he thought to himself, but he didn't dare to openly intervene. He could only watch helplessly as Jiang Qianxia walked up to old Master Chen and politely nodded. Hello, are you here in the village for some rest? The environment here is quite nice. You can take a good look around. Old Mr. Chen saw his granddaughter being so clever and couldn't help but twitch the corners of his mouth, trying hard to suppress his smile. Pretending not to know her, he said, getting old, the body has some issues. The doctor advised me to get closer to nature, so I found this place. Little girl, what about you? You don't seem like you're from the village. Just as Jiang Qianxia was about to respond, the village official hurriedly interrupted. Miss Jiang, when I was just coming over, I think I heard someone over there calling for you. Jiang Qianxia understood the other party's nervousness, but since old Mr. Chen chose to pretend not to know her, he must have his reasons. Anyway, they still had their phones to stay in touch, so she nodded lightly and prepared to leave. However, as she turned around, she suddenly saw Chunhong standing behind her at some point, her face covered in tears. Jiang Qianxia froze. Oh no, why did Chunhong come over? Did she remember something? She thought of how the old man had believed his wife to be dead for 50 years and seemed to have moved on, and she suddenly panicked. What do I do? What do I do? Behind her, old man Chen, who was listening to the village officials bragging, heard Jiang Qianxia's inner voice and glanced over in this direction. He noticed Jiang Qianxia staring at a patch of empty air, and his heart skipped a beat. He blinked but still couldn't see anything unusual in the air in front of Jiang Qianxia. Ichuan, he couldn't help but murmur softly. The village cadre beside him was startled. Sir, what did you say? Old Master Chen shook his head. It's nothing, I just thought of my wife. As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Qianxia noticed that Chunhong in front of her suddenly covered her face and ran off. Her heart tightened, and she worriedly chased after her. It wasn't until Chunhong rushed into her dressing room that Jiang Qianxia finally breathed a sigh of relief and followed her in, only to see Chunhong lying on the bed, crying her heart out. Why is he so old? The handsome guy from back then, how did he turn into an old geezer? Jiang Qianxia, grandma is just grandma, completely different from what I imagined. She had thought the other party was upset about something, but it turned out to be because her ex-husband had turned into a grumpy old man. Jiang Qianxia quietly waited for Chunhong to finish crying, then saw her put her hands on her hips and cheer up. Good thing I divorced early, otherwise facing that smelly old man every day, my temper would definitely worsen. When women get angry, they become ugly. That's no good. She shook her head. Now that I'm as beautiful as a flower, he's not good enough for me anymore. As she spoke, Chunhong suddenly noticed Jiang Qianxia, who had followed her in, and stopped awkwardly. Why are you staying here with an old woman like me? Don't you have things to do? Go on, I'm fine being alone. With that, she stood up, intending to shoo Jiang Qianxia away. Jiang Qianxia turned around and gently embraced her. Although she could feel the other's presence, she still held her tightly and softly asked, "Grandma, do you want to see him?" Chunhong was initially stunned, but then her facade of optimism instantly crumbled. She hugged Jiang Qianxia back, burying her face in her shoulder, unable to hold back her grievances any longer. How could this happen? Why does it have to be like this? Listening to Chunhong's aggrieved sobs, Jiang Qianxia's eyes also turned red. Her gaze grew even more resolute. She was determined to bring all criminals to justice. After comforting Chunhong, Jiang Qianxia asked her once again if she wanted to see old Chen. This time, she no longer forced herself to be strong, but still refused. She lowered her eyes, her spirit drained. "Forget it. We're separated by life and death. Our fate ended long ago. They are already divorced." Most importantly, she had heard Jiang Qianxia's inner thoughts and knew that the other person already had a new life, which was quite good. 50 years had passed, and the other person still remembered her name, which was already good enough. Jiang Qianxia saw her resistance and did not persuade her further. She felt sorry for Chunhong, and the more she felt sorry, the more her thoughts grew wild. It's too slow. Relying solely on the film to expose this matter is too slow. It's too easy for those people. In this village, the wicked are not only the human traffickers but also their children, and those who, after resigning themselves to fate, became accomplices, originally the victims themselves. Every person stained with blood, deserves punishment. Not just legal punishment, but also punishment of the soul. In this world, the most painful thing about killing is not the knife, but emotions. Using outsiders to expose their crimes will only make them resentful, hating the outsiders for being vile, for meddling, for not being cautious enough back then. They will not truly regret. They are only afraid of punishment. So, she wanted the people who had left this village to come back and expose these sins themselves. Let them taste the bitterness of being betrayed by their closest ones. Jiang Qianxia first called Sister Yan, asking her to help contact some people and make preparations in advance. Then she took the initiative to contact the fifth child of the Jiang family. Although she didn't plan to repair her relationship with the Jiang family, there was no reason not to use a free tool. Sure enough, after listening to Jiang Qianxia's words, Jiang Xiaowu agreed without hesitation, not even asking for a reason like Sister Yan did. After hanging up the phone, Jiang Qianxia thought for a moment and sent Jiang Xiaowu a red envelope. Jiang Mingxi opened it and saw 200 yuan. The corner of his mouth twitched, but he quickly got up to act. After searching for everyone who could help, Jiang Qianxia dialed the last number and hesitated. However, just as she was hesitating, the other party seemed to sense it telepathically and quickly sent a message. The situation lasted for 2 minutes, and finally, a brief and direct sentence popped up. "When will you come back?" Jiang Qianxia stared at these words, feeling a slight warmth in her heart. Although the other party hadn't mentioned missing her, she felt that between the lines, the strong sentiment of missing you was unmistakable. She gently touched her slightly warm face and dialed his number. On the other end of the line, Sitiyu fell silent after hearing her words. Jiang Qianxia's heart tightened, mistakenly thinking he was unwilling, and she suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of annoyance. She slightly lowered her eyelashes. "If it's inconvenient, forget it." "No." Sitiyu quickly denied it, his brows furrowing. "Are you involved in something dangerous?" Jiang Qianxia froze, then quickly reacted. "Me? What danger could there be in filming?" However, as soon as she finished speaking, his cold tone from that phone call echoed in her ears again. Jiang Qianxia, clearly, he got it right this time, but her heart involuntarily tightened, feeling a trace of discomfort. She pressed her lips together, a wave of bitterness and grievance surging in her heart, hating herself for being so fragile. Actually, she understood that he was angry because he was worried about her. But, what right does he have to be angry? Clearly, we're just a contractual couple, not real. Why does he have a right? Listening to Jiang Qianxia's gradually guilty voice on the other end of the phone, Sitiyu was momentarily stunned, then realized that he could actually hear her inner thoughts through the call. Watching her shift from feeling wrong to feeling guilty, his expression softened slightly. So, she actually understands why she's angry, doesn't she? Although his gaze remained serious, his voice involuntarily softened. "We are husband and wife. Although we signed an agreement, the marriage certificate is real. Previously, it was my fault, and I apologize. To you, you've done very well as a wife. So during the agreement period, as a husband, I should also fulfill my responsibilities." He paused briefly, his tone becoming earnest. "Jiang Qianxia, please give me a chance to make amends." Mingqing University. As the winter break approaches, exam week sweeps in like a tide, and students are plunged into the sea of revision. However, in stark contrast to the tense atmosphere across the campus, a few girls in the dormitory of the art department are surprisingly relaxed. Most of them don't need to take exams, they only need to complete their final assignments to start their winter break directly. At this moment, they are packing their luggage while chatting idly. Tian, are you going home?" "Yes, what about you?" "I'm planning to go out with my boyfriend for a week, then head home with some friends from my hometown." "What? What are you daydreaming about?" A short-haired girl named held the folded clothes and suddenly snapped back to reality. "Huh? What did you say?" Tian blinked. "We were discussing the time to go home. You're waiting for your boyfriend's vacation, right?" Blushed slightly and nodded shyly. "He wants to take me home to meet his parents. He said his mom hopes to settle things sooner, but I think it's a bit early." Tian widened her eyes in surprise. "Of course it's early. And, if I remember correctly, your boyfriend is from the countryside, right?" Realizing she had misspoken, Tian quickly apologized. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean anything by it. It's just, you're an only child, and he's an only child too. If you two are going to be together, it would definitely make more sense for you to stay in your home, right? There's no reason to move from a big city to a small county. The other roommates chimed in one after another. Yi nodded helplessly, her expression troubled. That's what I think too, but his mom seems to want him to go back home, and it looks like he also wants me to go back with him after I graduate. Ah, the roommates all showed puzzled expressions. Yi saw that everyone was having difficulty understanding, finally breathed a sigh of relief, and poured out her troubles. He said his mother had a hard time raising him, and her only wish is to bring home a well-behaved daughter-in-law to make up for the regret of not having a daughter. And after his mother found out we were together, she even sent me a lot of things, really very sincere. But I only think about myself, wanting to stay in a big city to work in the future. Is that too selfish? I always feel that going home with him gives me an indescribable sense of fear. Yi's words made her roommates exchange glances, their faces showing astonishment. This is being PUA'd, right? The three said in unison. Yi looked up blankly. What is PUA? The atmosphere in the room instantly grew heavy, and the roommates exchanged glances once again. Yi was the one with the best family background in the dorm, and she had a simple personality. From the moment she started dating that boyfriend from the countryside, everyone felt it was unsuitable, but out of friendship, they didn't say anything. But the situation is obviously different now. Several people hurriedly explained the definition of PUA to Yi. She was stunned and repeatedly reflected on the details of her interactions with her boyfriend, discovering many things that sent chills down her spine. Her gentle personality often led her to prioritize others' feelings, and over time, she seemed to become increasingly less confident. When did it start? She began questioning whether her spending was too extravagant, whether she was considerate enough of others, and even doubting whether she was doing well enough. But everyone is right. Her family background is the best in the dorm, yet her expenses are not high. In fact, she is quite frugal. Why is she being criticized for being extravagant just because she drank a cup of milk tea? Recently, her parents have been asking if her living expenses are sufficient. She suddenly realized that after being with her boyfriend, her spending habits have quietly changed, and her clothes have become cheaper and cheaper. At this moment, a roommate suddenly exclaimed, "Ah, she picked me. Do you mind being on camera to have your fortune told?" Yi was startled. What? The roommate quickly explained, "I follow a fortune-telling streamer. She often picks fans to tell their fortunes. Do you want to give it a try? She's really accurate. Let her take a look at your love life." The live broadcast camera turned on. Jiang Qianxia saw four young and beautiful college students appear in front of the camera and immediately locked her gaze on the short-haired girl. She was exactly the person Jiang Qianxia was looking for. The lively and cheerful Tian Tian clasped her hands together and pleaded, "Master, we want to have our love fortunes read. Can all four of us get a reading, please?" Actually, it was Jiang Qianxia who took the initiative to approach them, so naturally, they wouldn't refuse. She first did a reading for the other three. One of the girls hadn't been dating her boyfriend for long. Upon hearing this, she nodded knowingly. Another girl wouldn't encounter her true match in college, as she was surrounded by jerks. She said indignantly, "Since college is full of jerks, I'll just endure for 2 more years. No, a year and a half will be enough." Another girl's childhood friend will get married in the future, which left her stunned. Next, it was Yi's turn. Seeing that the predictions for her roommates were spot on, Yi's expression also grew tense. Unexpectedly, the host's first words made her heart sink sharply. "You're too timid. You'd better not go home with your boyfriend. If you go, you might not come back." Yi's face instantly turned pale, and an inexplicable sense of panic surged in her heart. But why? Society is stable now, and information is so accessible. Could there really be any danger? However, the streamer only said one sentence: "Your current boyfriend is not your destined match, and, judging by your facial features, your parents may encounter something bad soon. The solution is for their children to be by their side." Yi was half convinced, but the last sentence about her parents made her choose to believe it rather than dismiss it. After all, going home could never be a bad thing. She decided to tell her boyfriend that she couldn't go to his home for now. She needed to return to her own home. After finding the last person, Jiang Qianxiao let out a sigh of relief and closed the livestream room. Spring Red, who had floated back at some point, was lying idly on the window, keeping an eye on her. Seeing that Jiang Qianxiao was done, Spring Red floated over and hesitantly asked, "That old man, the place he chose, did you tell him about it?" Jiang Qianxiao was taken aback for a moment. "What place?" Seeing Jiang Qianxiao's confusion, Chunhong understood in her heart, it wasn't. She hurriedly waved her hand, "It's nothing." However, Jiang Qianxiao suddenly realized. The old man used the excuse of coming for recuperation, naturally intending to pretend to rent a villager's house. So, he rented the Lin family's house. He wanted to see what the place where his daughter had wandered back then looked like. But he still didn't know that in that place, his ex-wife's blood and tears had once flowed. She suddenly felt that not telling old Chen about this matter was somewhat unfair to Chunhong. However, Chunhong looked at her nervously, afraid that she would really go and tell the old man, and hurriedly said, "Hey, girl, tell me about my daughter." Actually, the memories are still not very complete." Jiang Qianxia nodded and, based on the original host's memories, recounted what she remembered about Lin Junya to Chunhong. Chunhong listened attentively, and when she heard something amusing, she would laugh along. But as Jiang Qianxia was speaking, she suddenly felt something strange. In the past, when the original owner's memories unfolded in her mind, she viewed them from a bystander's perspective. But for some reason, as she narrated, she gradually shifted to the original owner's perspective. It used to feel like watching TV or a movie. Now, not only has she become the experiencer of the memories, but even the emotions from back then seemed to linger. Jiang Qianxiao's brows furrowed. She wasn't a fool and felt that something was off. Why did she feel as if she was the original owner? Seeing Jiang Qianxia suddenly stop, her inner thoughts becoming chaotic, Chunhong did not interrupt her but quietly waited by her side. At first, she didn't quite understand what the original owner in the child's inner voice meant, but she roughly grasped her meaning. She seemed to think she wasn't herself. Did she think she was possessed by a ghost? But as someone who had torn countless ghosts to shreds, she knew better than anyone that this child's soul and body were astonishingly compatible. This meant that not only was she entirely her true self, but she was also a rare genius in the mystical arts. With a body like this, even possession would be extremely difficult to succeed. However, it's best for her to figure this out on her own. Chunhong vaguely remembered knowing a psychologist in the past past who had studied a type of condition where several selves split within one body. The psychologist told her that this condition requires the patient to achieve self-awareness and acceptance to integrate themselves. Looking at Jiang Qianxia's gradually clearing gaze, though there was still doubt in her eyes, Chunhong felt slightly relieved, yet a bit angry. The psychologist had mentioned that this situation mostly occurs when one is hurt or stimulated. It is a self-protection mechanism of the frail. When she is unable to protect herself, she shuts herself off and creates a stronger person in her mind who can protect her. Who could it be? Hurt her good granddaughter to the point of. The intense dark aura in Chunhong's eyes made Jiang Qianxia nervous. Why you need to calm down. Although she had methods to suppress ghost servants, the other party was, after all, an elder. She couldn't possibly make a move against an elder. Seeing her face full of worry but hesitant to act, Chunhong quickly restrained the anger in her heart. No choice, as a ghost, and one filled with intense resentment, she was easily overwhelmed by anger. She sighed and tried her best to regain her composure. Good girl. If anyone bullies you in the future, just tell grandma. Jiang Qianxia was taken aback. Although she didn't understand why Chunhong suddenly said this to her while they were clearly talking about her foster mother, she still felt comforted by it. Her heart warmed, and she nodded gently. The next day, under Jiang Qianxia's arrangements, people began returning to the village one after another. Over the years, not many people had left Linjia village, and cases like Lin Zhongqing's family moving away entirely were extremely rare. Most people still stayed in this village, unwilling, afraid, or simply unable to leave. After compulsory education, there were more young people going out to work and college students leaving for their studies. The first batch to return to the village included 3 college students, among them was Yi's boyfriend. He was the earliest to come back. He had received secret news that a wealthy man had come to the village for recuperation. However, the truth was that the man wasn't sick at all but was searching for an heir. He doesn't have a son. Of course, he's not a fool either. It's impossible for him to believe a message just like that and skip his final exams. Naturally, someone approached him, saying they could fund his college education and after graduation, even help him find a job. The only thing he had to do was, after returning home, find a way to mention the matter of his sponsorship in front of that wealthy man. Humph, he's at least a student from a prestigious university, and by playing dumb, he managed to extract information about the tycoon from that person. Suddenly, it all made sense. Instead of helping others curry favor with the tycoon to become the heir, why not curry favor with the tycoon himself and become the heir? That person mentioned that he was just one of the tycoon's adopted sons. In that case, why can't he become one of them? Back in the village, he met 2 other fellow villagers who had rushed back from university, and his determination grew even stronger. The only misstep was probably that the rich man's adopted son had also found a few others. However, those 2 fools definitely wouldn't figure out what the real shortcut is. He didn't know that after the 3 exchanged polite greetings, each of them was secretly cursing the other 2 fools in their hearts. On the 3rd day, the people who had gone out to work returned one after another. The same situation as the previous day played out at the entrance of the village. However, this time the news they received was not about a wealthy man selecting an adopted son, but rather, a boss planning to develop a tourist village and needing local guides. Seeing others returning to the village one after another, everyone's expressions grew tense. Fortunately, the boss's secretary, upon seeing so many people returning, immediately consulted the boss and informed everyone. Everyone could first participate in a trial period, which would also be paid. The development map they were preparing was very large and would require at least half of the guides. Instantly, everyone became excited. 2 more days passed, and almost everyone who needed to return to the village had arrived. Only Lin Zhongqing was left. However, Chunhong had instructed that this person was to be left to her, so Jiang Qianxia didn't bother to think of a way to trick him into coming back. Meanwhile, the filming of the crew was progressing smoothly. Jiang Qianxia finished filming the last scene of the escape. Next up is the scene under the willow tree. Suddenly, a cup of warm water was handed over from the side. Miss Jiang, your acting is impressive. Jiang Qianxia turned her head and looked in the direction of the hand holding the water cup. She saw a handsome and stern-faced man wearing a yellow construction safety helmet. She glared at him irritably, then took the water cup and drank a big gulp. Spring Red, who was nearby, quickly floated over to complain to Jiang Qianxia. That female lead secretly took pictures of you again. She seems to be discussing with someone about exposing your relationship with the foreman. Ahem. Jiang Qianxia almost choked upon hearing this. She glared fiercely at the person beside her. Situ foreman you. Who's in a relationship with him? Spring Hong secretly thought to herself that she couldn't let others know she could hear Jiang Qianxia's inner voice, so she could only let her disdainful gaze wander over Situ Yu, who was wearing a safety helmet, and muttered, TSK, who would have thought that my lovely granddaughter is already spoken for. Saying this, Spring Hong floated lightly to Situ Yu's side, circled around him, and evaluated with her chin propped up. As for looks and physique, barely passable. Her eyes sparkled with teasing mischief, but this guy is a bit cold and distant. Still, knowing you might run into trouble and chasing after you to keep watch to show some thoughtfulness. Spring Hong nodded in satisfaction and returned to Jiang Qianxia's side. Jiang Qianxia, thank you, Grandma. Situ Yu stiffened slightly, secretly pondering, and glanced at Jiang Qianxia. She seemed to be communicating with someone, yet there was nothing around her. He immediately realized that Jiang Qianxia's grandmother had appeared again, and she was that kind of presence. For ordinary people, such a presence would likely evoke fear, but Situ Yu felt more nervous than afraid. After all, no matter what kind of existence it was still Jiang Qianxia's elder. This was a feeling he had never experienced before, yet he didn't dislike it. On the contrary, it made him more considerate and protective of Jiang Qianxia. He wasn't trying to leave a good impression on her elder. It was simply because he liked her as she was now. He could tell how much Jiang Qianxia adored that elder, and that was enough for him. After realizing his feelings, he began to pay attention to the things he had previously ignored. He knew about the past events of the Jiang family, but anger and regret could not change anything. He could only strive to make her future happy and joyful. However, there were some things he could never make up for, and that was family bonds. Things are fine just as they are now, Situ Yu silently murmured in his heart. His arrival naturally caught the old man's attention. Unlike Chen Hong, the old man man had once heard Jiang Qianxiao's inner voice. They were a fake couple. Thus, in the eyes of the old man, C2U's active chasing after them seemed rather meaningful. C2U certainly knew the old man's identity, so every time he encountered him, he behaved humbly and politely. The few adopted sons who returned with ulterior motives looked at him with increasingly subtle expressions. The old man had seen C2U a few times before, and his cold, aloof demeanor was completely different from his current respectful and courteous attitude. He couldn't help but nod repeatedly in secret and had even sent a few messages to Jiang Qianxiao praising him. In fact, if the old man didn't know the two kids were in a fake marriage, it would be fine, but since he did know, he couldn't help but want to play matchmaker. After all, his heart wasn't entirely unperturbed when he looked at that girl. When Jiang Qianxiao received the news of the old man's repeated praise for C2U, her face flushed. She still didn't know that the old man was already aware of their fake marriage, and couldn't help but wonder, C2U, in the eyes of others, has he already done enough to earn the elder's praise? Shenhong, who was beside her, teased, what's the matter? Jiang Qianxiao shook her head repeatedly, it's nothing. But when she met C2U again, the village ladies could all tell that there seemed to be something between them. They teased, the big star and the big boss really make a perfect match. Jiang Qianxia. Then, C2U took the opportunity to admit his love at first sight for Jiang Qianxia and expressed his desire to pursue her. With this, his frequent attention to Jiang Qianxia's matters made sense. The news about the female lead quietly spread online as well. Of course, this was thanks to Jiang Qianxia's haters. Upon seeing rumors about her allegedly dating a wealthy man, whether true or not, they began to spread the news like wildfire, almost as if they couldn't wait to buy her a trending topic. For some reason, her mother-in-law Zhu Qing also noticed these rumors and gave her a call, reminding her that as the daughter-in-law of the Sidu family, even if her identity hadn't been made public yet, she still needed to maintain her image. Jiang Qianxia left her speechless with one sentence. The rich man they're talking about online is your son cosplaying. Zhu Qing immediately called Situ in a hurry. While she no longer dared to directly reprimand the current Situ, she used Situ Xiaoya's name as an excuse to give her son a warning, urging him to return home quickly and stop tarnishing the Situ family's reputation by staying with Jiang Qianxia. Unexpectedly, he was left speechless and infuriated by Situ's remark. If you're worried about the reputation of the Situ family, I can declare my separation from it. In fact, it's not that Situ wants the Situ family now, but rather the Situ family is begging him to return and take over the family business. However, Situ's own company has grown larger and larger, almost rivaling the Situ family. On the other hand, the Situ family, ever since the eldest son and the old master passed away one after another, has been barely held together by her husband and the old madam. Although she didn't understand the specifics, from the old madam rarely being at home and her husband looking utterly exhausted every day, she knew the situation had reached a critical point. In terms of business acumen, her husband was simply no match for the elderly lady. The old lady, still vigorous despite her age, held everything firmly under control. However, given her advanced years, it was uncertain how much longer she could maintain her grip. Once the elderly lady fully let go, would the Situ family remain stable under her husband's management? She felt uneasy. As for handing it over to a proxy, not only would the elderly lady and her husband disapprove, but even she, an outsider to the business, was unwilling. In truth, the best solution would have been for the younger son to inherit directly when the elder son passed away. Yet, looking at the little grandson who had been sent back, she felt a sense of resentment. The elder son had poured so much effort and endured countless hardships from a young age to become a better heir, while the younger son lived freely and unrestrained, enjoying a liberty his brother never had. He had contributed nothing, yet wanted to effortlessly reap the fruits of victory. Such a comparison was deeply unfair. Thus, she suggested that the younger son act as a proxy, only to be flatly rejected by him. Clearly, the affairs of the Situ family were not hers to decide. Her husband and the two elders shared a common understanding. Since the elder son was no longer around and the eldest grandson was still young, the Situ family must not fall into the hands of outsiders. It was only right for the younger son to inherit. Although Zhu Qing was displeased, she still secretly felt fortunate that the ancestral rules of the Situ family were in place. Even if the younger son inherited the family business, it would eventually have to be returned to the eldest son's firstborn. Moreover, while the younger son was idle and carefree, he was still somewhat capable and unlikely to ruin the family business before the grandson could inherit it. However, she never expected that the younger son would plead with the old master, and his purpose was to refuse this matter. He would rather accept the arranged marriage with the Jiang family than take over the Situ family, and this marriage with the Jiang family was originally meant for the eldest son. It was only because she disapproved of the Jiang family status and their daughter that she had never agreed to it. This was also the reason Zhu Qing was so displeased with Jiang Qianxia. No matter how much she disliked this daughter-in-law, Jiang Qianxia was originally meant for the eldest son, but was snatched away by the younger son, leaving her indignant. However, ever since the incident with Lu Ma, Zhu Qing had suffered a heavy blow and no longer dared to think too much about the future. Aunt Lu was the nanny for the two sons when they were young, dedicating all her efforts to taking care of them. She hoped her grandson could be as outstanding as the elder son, so she chose to let him receive the same educational environment. However,